Chapter 853. If you don't think these songs are good, why don't we change them? We can sing something more relaxing. What do you think? Murphy bent down beside the crib to tidy up Tong Tong's clothes. Just as she was about to carry him out for a spin, Yang Yi leaned against the wall and asked softly, "No way." Murphy rolled her eyes. "The songs are fine. Why can't they be good? Didn't you say that they were too sad?" "They are sad. These songs are too sad." Yang Yi laughed. "Since you don't like them, why force yourself to sing them? It's not like I can't find other songs for you." Murphy blinked innocently at Yang Yi and said, "Who told you that I don't like these songs?" "You like them?" Yang Yi was a little confused. "Yeah, I heard you play the saxophone just now. The melody was so beautiful. How can I not like such good songs?" Mo Fei carried Tianxian out. The little guy grabbed his mother's clothes with one hand, but he was very playful. He reached out to his father with the other hand. "Baba." Tong Tong waved his little hand. It seemed that he was more interested in his father, who was just playing with him. Yang Yi took Tong Tong, but he was still confused and continued to ask Murphy, "But you just said that they are sad." "Sad is one thing, but liking them is another. Although I feel sad when I see the lyrics, I can't help but like them. It should be very interesting to sing them." Murphy giggled. When she saw Yang Yi's dumbfounded expression, she said, "Aya, you don't understand women. The more they are sad, the more they like it. Isn't that right?" In those years, who was the one who watched those tragic dramas from the neighboring countries with snot and tears running down their faces, but loved them so much? Women. Yang Yi was a little speechless. "Okay, as long as you like it. I was worried that you wouldn't like this type of songs because I wanted to create a sad special for you." "Sure. However, you have to teach me these 3 songs first. I only listened to the song, The Most Familiar Stranger." Murphy's 2 hands pressed on the low cabinet as she excitedly said to Yang Yi. Yang Yi smiled and said, "Well, which one do you want to listen to first?" "This one." The lyrics of Tianxian K song are also very sad, but compared to the others, it's a little lighter and not as straightforward. "Let's go from shallow to deep and take it slow," Murphy murmured. "This song is more interesting. The female voice has a female voice, and the male voice has a male voice." Yang Yi recalled several versions of the song that he had heard in his previous life. After pondering for a while, he said, "I'll sing the male voice for you. We can study the female voice later. But for the male version, I'll have to play the drums." For the male version, Yang Yi naturally had to imitate Zhang Guarong's singing style. "Then I'll help you hold your son." Murphy was interested and carried Tong Tong over. "Hey, Baba." The little boy was unwilling. He hadn't started playing with his father yet. When he was in his mother's arms, he pouted his small mouth and made a fuss. Fortunately, Yang Yi sat in front of the drum set and played a trick of twirling the stick with his fingertips, attracting little Momo's attention. The little boy forgot his opinion of his mother and opened his big round eyes, looking at his father in surprise. It seemed that he was shocked by his father's performance. It seemed that he was using his little head to try to understand what his father was doing. Yang Yi teased his son, then he became serious and began to sing the first few lines, slowly looking back, the night that belonged to each other. "Hong Hong is still you, the sun in my heart." It was actually a Cantonese song. Murphy felt that the sentence structure of these lyrics was a bit special, but she didn't have a deep understanding of language, so she couldn't tell which language the sentence order was from. However, a classic was a classic. Yang Yi only sang the first few lines, and Murphy was attracted by the charm of the song. She stood aside with Tong Tong in her arms, looking at him eagerly, forgetting to sit down. Zhang Guarong's singing was able to move countless people. In fact, his singing wasn't the main reason. Even if his singing was top-notch, the key was that he could control his voice with emotion. This was something that many imitators couldn't do. Controlling the voice with emotion referred to giving a strong emotion to the voice. It was rare that it wasn't pretentious, and it was rare that it was just right. With the addition of his singing, he could easily express his talent and his sincere feelings. This kind of song would naturally move the audience. Yang Yi couldn't reach Zhang Guarong's level for the time being. However, with his wide vocal range, solid singing, and hard imitation, Yang Yi could sing with a little feeling of an older brother. It's a pity that we're about to be separated, so I can only gaze deeply at this moment. For example, in this sentence, the slight pause between this moment and gaze deeply at, as well as the change of emotion, Murphy showed an infatuated expression as she listened. At this time, Yang Yi hit the drum, as if he was using the rapid drumming to bring in the chorus of the climax. Even if there are thousands of songs in the future, floating on my road in the distance, even if there are thousands of stars in the evening, brighter than tonight's moon. Yang Yi hit the drum according to the rhythm and sang with emotion. Only he, relying on his vigorous aura and extraordinary body coordination, was able to beat the drum and sing without being affected at the same time. However, Murphy didn't think too much about these meaningless things. She looked at Yang Yi with blurred eyes, and was almost intoxicated by Yang Yi's cadence at this moment. Yang Yi also looked at her affectionately, and with that very seductive singing voice, he hummed, "Can't compare to this night's beauty, can't wash away my thoughts tonight, aha, because you're singing with me tonight." Murphy bit her lower lip, and her cheeks turned slightly red. No one was willing to sing only half of this song. Although it was just a demonstration, Yang Yi still sang the whole song. In the end, he even hummed the last part of the song under the steady drumming. "How is it? This song is good, right?" Yang Yi still wanted to continue singing, so he smiled and said to Murphy. However, Murphy rolled her eyes at him and pretended to be unhappy. "What's wrong?" Yang Yi asked with a smile. "You're so bad," Murphy said angrily. "Such a good song, I can't wait to hear it, but you actually bewitched me and said that you would change it to another song." Hey, how is that bewitching? Was your language taught by a PE teacher?" Yang Yi laughed. He knew that Murphy was just playing with him. Sometimes, the young couple quarreled, which was also a reflection of the fun in life. "Yes, I was bewitched. Your language was taught by a PE teacher." While the two of them were bickering, Tong Tong became very interested in the drum set that his father was playing. He started to blabber and finally attracted his father's attention. "Why, you want to play?" Yang Yi laughed and handed a drumstick to the little guy. The drumstick was not heavy, so Tong Tong could hold it. Moreover, his ability to imitate was beyond his parents' expectations. Murphy carried him to the drum set, and the little guy excitedly waved his little arms and started to hit the drum. Hee. The little guy was so happy that he even turned his head to look at his father and grinned, as if to say, "Dad, look, I can hit the drum too." Chapter 854. When she came back at night, she didn't talk to Lan Xin in the car like before. The little girl was in a very low mood. However, she didn't want to say it in front of Lan Xin. Yang Yi waited until she got home before asking. I was scolded by Teacher Lu." She leaned in her mother's arms and finally opened her mouth. Yang Yi put she's small bag on the table and asked puzzledly, "Why did Teacher Lu scold you? Is it because you didn't do well in the math exam?" "It's okay. If you didn't do well, we'll work harder next time. Don't take it to heart." Murphy touched her daughter's little head and comforted her with a smile. "It's just an exam. It doesn't mean anything." She shook her head. Her little hand grabbed the buttons of her mother's clothes and played with them unconsciously. She pouted and said, "No, Teacher Lu scolded me because I did something wrong." "What did you do wrong? How did Teacher Lu scold you?" Yang Yi asked. He was actually quite sensitive to the word scolding his daughter had said. In his heart, he thought that this Mr. Lu had said something unpleasant to make Cici so upset. I don't even know. I said that Lily drank the most water and told little Fishy, so Teacher Lu scolded me." She's memory was very good. Moreover, this incident left a deep impression on her, so she could repeat what Teacher Lu said. Teacher Lu said, "Yang Shi, don't whisper to other students." During the exam, all the questions have to be completed independently. Yang-yi and Murphy asked for some details and understood the whole story. This isn't scolding you. Yang-yi breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said to Shishi, Teacher Lu was just reminding you. That's right. You can't cheat in the exam. You can't copy other people's answers or tell other people your answers. Murphy said seriously. Shishi didn't cheat. Yang-yi defended his daughter and pulled her over. He looked at her and said, because Shishi said that she didn't know the rules of the examination room, right? Shishi, if you knew that the teacher wouldn't allow this, you wouldn't have told little you the answer, right? Shishi looked into her father's eyes and nodded vigorously. Shishi didn't like the word cheating that her mother mentioned. She pouted and tried her best to explain to her father, I didn't tell them after I found out that Chen Yuxuan was peeking at my test paper from behind. Then, the teacher found out, so I hid the test paper and didn't want to show it to him. That's great. You see, you're still a good kid. Admit your mistakes and correct them, right? Besides, your original intention wasn't to tell little you your answers. You just didn't know the rules of the examination room. So, the teacher was just reminding you, not scolding you, Yang-yi said gently. Shishi leaned into her father's arms and grabbed his fingers. Did Teacher Lu say anything to you after the exam? Yang-yi asked. Also, did the homeroom teacher, Teacher Li, talk to you? Shishi looked at her father in confusion. She thought for a moment and then shook her head. That's right. Look, the teacher didn't even take it to heart. Why did you think about it the whole day? Yang-yi smiled and used his other hand to ruffle Shishi's cute bangs. Anyway, you know your mistakes and corrected them. Everything is fine now, right? You don't have to be sad, right? Shishi's hair was messed up, and it rippled gently in front of her bright eyes. The little girl finally smiled at her father's teasing. Seeing that she was unhappy when she came back today, Yang-yi and Murphy didn't dare to ask her how she did on the unit tests. Of course, they were still very concerned. It wasn't until night time that Yang-yi coaxed Shishi to bed that he pretended not to care and asked, How many subjects did you take today? I took the mathematics, Chinese, and English exams. She counted with her fingers. The little girl's skin was as white as milk, and her little fingers were as delicate and white as scallions. She was extremely cute. So you took all 3 of the unit tests, right? You don't have to take any exams tomorrow, right? Yang-yi said with a smile. The teacher said that she would tell us the results tomorrow. She raised her little head and giggled. How do you think you did today? Were the questions difficult? Yang-yi asked. Little Fishy said that she thought English was super difficult. Xian Air said that she didn't know how to do math. But I think it was okay. She said with some confusion. It's okay. If you do well, we'll work harder. You can't be proud. If you don't do well, then we'll work harder next time. Yang-yi actually still believed in Shi's ability. However, he was a little worried that the little girl would be depressed after being scolded by the teacher for her first exam. Therefore, he comforted her. Papa, I'll tell you. The little girl pulled her father's big hand over and let him hold her. She whispered, Little Fishy is especially afraid of exams. Why? Yang-yi asked. It was normal for children to be afraid of exams. Even adults were afraid of exams. However, wasn't Yang-yi just supporting her? He didn't ask why, but she didn't feel comfortable talking. Because if she doesn't do well, her papa will scold her and not let her watch TV. She said as she looked at her father's face. The little girl's eyes seemed to say, Papa, you won't let me watch TV, right? Yang-yi smiled and patted her little head gently. He said, Little Fishy's papa is a little too strict. Look, Papa is very tolerant of you, right? Let me tell you, don't be discouraged if you don't do well. We'll work harder next time. He. She held her father's hand with satisfaction. She twisted her body and smiled. After she fell asleep, Yang-yi returned to the second bedroom. Tong Tong was also asleep. Murphy laid out a yoga mat on the floor and jumped rope. Why are you exercising in the middle of the night? You'll sweat later and have to take a shower. Yang Yi asked with a smile. Moreover, little Gua doesn't run at night anymore. She runs in the morning. Could it be that she was stimulated by little Gua's weight loss? You're not fat now. This afternoon, Yang Yi and Mo Fei also went to the coffee shop. It had to be said that under Ding Xiang's treatment, Guazi had indeed lost a lot of weight. Although he still looked fat, his belly had been cut down, and his whole person had become much more flexible. You're the one who's losing weight, Murphy panted and said angrily. However, she didn't tell Yang Yi why she was jumping rope. Yang Yi was confused as he watched her jump for a while. She only stopped when she was sweating profusely. Mo Fei raised her eyelids, glanced at Yang Yi shyly, and bit her lower lip. Then, she took off the coat she was wearing. Gulp. Yang Yi's eyes widened and he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Murphy wasn't wearing a top or sports bra under her jacket. Instead, it was hanging from two thin straps. Of course, the clothes weren't the main point. The main point was that Murphy had sweated a lot from the exercise earlier. Her skin was smooth and moist, and the sweat on her neck and collarbone had gathered into large beads of sweat. The beads of sweat flowed along the undulating lines of her breasts. In professional terms, it was called the saddle. The beads of sweat slowly gathered and flowed into the deep ravine. Murphy was usually very conservative. After all, they had been married for a long time. Sometimes, when Yang Yi teased her, she would blush. However, today, she seemed to have been stimulated by the lyrics of a few songs. She had decided that even if she had to be thick-skinned, she would teach Yang Yi a lesson. Murphy walked up gracefully with her catwalk. Her face was rosy, and she looked at Yang Yi charmingly. She opened her red lips and exhaled. I want to practice my lower back. Can you help me? Yang Yi's gaze was attracted by the beads of sweat. His mouth was so dry that he couldn't speak. Of course, at this moment, how could he refuse? Yang Yi smiled and reached out to hold Murphy's hips. He said softly, Come on, bend down slowly and spread your legs a little more. Hey, which family's lower back needs to spread their legs so widely? Hee. Chapter 855. Next, every student whose name has been called by the teacher, please come up and get your test paper. As for the other students whose names have not been called, please stay in your seat and don't move. The next day, the first class was Chinese class. Shi, like the other children, sat in her seat and looked eagerly at Teacher Li Rulan on the podium. Perhaps because they were about to know their results, they were very nervous. In today's class, these little fellows were very obedient and didn't make any noise. Each and every one of them sat up straight and looked at the teacher attentively. The only time there was such a uniform scene in the classroom could be traced back to the beginning of school. At that time, they were more obedient. After 3 weeks, the little fellows were very familiar with the new environment, new classmates, and new teachers. Each and every one of them revealed their mischievous nature. Wang Lei 92 points. Lan Xian, Chen Yuxuan, Chao Roland 98 points. Li Rulan didn't read out the names according to their scores. Instead, she called out the names from top to bottom and let these children go up and get their test papers. She also didn't read out all the children's scores. Out of consideration for the children who did poorly, she only read out the scores of those who scored more than 90 points. However, because the quality of the students was high and the questions were relatively simple, most of the children scored more than 90 points. There were also a few who scored 100 points. Even if their scores weren't read out, their scores wouldn't be too bad. For example, Lan Xian scored 88 points. She was just 1 point away from being read out by the teacher. It was also a kind of honor to be read out by the teacher. Looking at Chao Roland, who scored 98 points, the bespectacled girl's face was glowing. She walked to the podium with her chest puffed out to receive her test paper. She looked at Chao Roland enviously while waiting for her test paper. Lu Xiaoyu, 90 points. She turned her head and saw her deskmate happily running up to get her test paper. She couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Why isn't it my turn yet? The little girl's mind was in a mess. One moment she was worried, and the next moment she was sad. She was worried about her gains and losses, and her confidence and patience were slowly being ground away. However, just as she was letting her imagination run wild, Lu Xiaoyu had just sat down beside her. Just as she was happily about to show her paper to Shi, the teacher on the stage read, Andong, 95 points. Yang Shi, 100 points. Now, the teacher has already read out 2 students who scored 100 points. In this unit test, the students in our class did very well in Chinese. She didn't pay attention to what teacher Li Rulan said after that. When her name was called, the little girl raised her head in surprise. When the teacher read out her score, the little girl's eyes were filled with surprise. Shi, you scored 100 points. Lu Xiaoyu was so surprised that her little mouth turned round. She turned her head and looked at Shi as if she was looking at a big monster. She thought that it was already very good for her to score 90 points. In fact, many people scored more than 90 points because the teacher read out their scores. The little girl had an illusion. But she didn't expect Shi's results to be even better. Of course, at this time, she had to go up and get the test paper first. She happily ran up to the stage with small steps with smiling eyes. She stretched out her hands and took the test paper from the teacher. However, Li Rulan didn't treat Shi like the other students. She only gave a few words of encouragement and let Shi go down. She smiled and said, Yang Shi, wait a moment. She walked out from the podium and gently put her hand on Shi's shoulder. She smiled and said to the students in the class, Yang Shi's results in the unit test for the 3 subjects are very good. The math teacher and the English teacher told me that she also scored full marks for the other 2 subjects. Wow! A few of the children who were not calm cried out in surprise. Of course, most of them were still in a confused and wait-and-see state. For example, Lan Xian even moved her butt in her seat, as if sitting more comfortably was more important than listening to other people's results. Really? She didn't expect Teacher Li to reveal her results for the other subjects during Chinese class. The little girl turned her head in surprise and looked at the teacher. She asked, I scored 100 points for 2 subjects? Li Rulan didn't expect Shi to interact with her so openly. She thought that she would be a little embarrassed after hearing it. In the end, when she saw Cici raise 2 fingers, she realized that she had miscalculated, so she changed it to 3 fingers. Her slender little fingers swayed, so cute that Li Rulan couldn't wait to take a bite out of them. Of course it's true, but don't be arrogant and slack off. Because this is only the first exam. If you don't take it seriously next time, you might be overtaken by others. Li Rulan said gently. In the afternoon, Shi went home. In the car, the little girl was beaming with joy. However, when Yang Yi asked her what had happened, she refused to say. She also didn't allow Lan Xian to say anything. The 2 little girls were playing in the back, as if they were keeping a secret from each other. Yang Yi asked anxiously. Shi cried out in a clear voice, I can only tell you when I get home and Mom is with me. You still want to wait for Mom? Can't you tell me a little and let Dad know first? Actually, Yang Yi could roughly guess that Cici was so happy because she had done well in the exam after the results were announced. However, he still teased the little girl. You can't. Mama said I can't just tell Papa and not Mama. Cici explained seriously. Okay, when they got home, Shi ran over and pulled Murphy over. She also asked Yang Yi to stop what he was doing and urged them to sit in a row. Little brother, sit here too. Shi arranged diligently. Tong Tong sat next to his mother in a daze. He didn't know what was going on. He just stared at his sister's figure with his big eyes. Yang Yi and Murphy were very cooperative. They didn't move and just watched she carefully take out a few neatly folded test papers from her school bag. Papa, Mama, look, I got 100 points. 100 points. She finally said the words she had been holding back for a long time. She pointed at the test papers on the table with her little finger. So good. 100 points. Murphy was really surprised and couldn't stop smiling. She took Shi's test papers and looked at them one by one. They are all ticked. Oh, Shi, Mom is so proud of you. She didn't have to hold back anymore. She jumped into her father's arms and giggled. Actually, it's quite easy to get full marks in the first grade, right? Yang Yi touched his chin and glanced at the math paper. These questions are quite easy. Murphy patted his shoulder reproachfully. You talk too much. Cece straightened her body, pouted her small mouth, and said unwillingly, But Teacher Lee said that I'm the only one in our class who got 3 full marks. Are there any in other classes? Murphy asked. There are in other classes. Chi also got 3 100 points, and then Xiaoyu also got 2 100 points. Xi and Air also got 100 points in English. Shi said, but I'm the only one in our class. You can't underestimate these 3 100 points. Shi, you are very good. Murphy gave her a thumbs up. You really did well this time. Yang Yi smiled and rubbed his daughter's little head. He said, but do you remember what Papa told you? If you do well, don't be proud. Next time, work harder. I know. This morning, Teacher Lee also told me. She said that if I don't work hard, I will be surpassed by others. She said with joy. Then I told Teacher Lee that my papa told me the story of the rabbit and the tortoise. I know that I can't be lazy. Yang Yi and Murphy looked at each other in surprise. Although they didn't know how Li Rulan would react to Shi's story of the rabbit and the tortoise, Shi's performance was really beyond their imagination. Chapter 856. Sister Ding Xiang, are you free this afternoon? The next day, Yang Huan saw Ding Xiang, who had just finished her work at the coffee shop, and asked her with a smile. I'm going to the department to submit my thesis proposal to my tutor. Why? Ding Xiang answered curiously. My brother said he'll treat us to dinner tonight. He's really happy that she got full marks in her unit test. Yang Huan said excitedly. He asked me to inform you guys that we haven't gotten together for a while. If it wasn't because they went overseas, it would be because Xiao Gua and you weren't in Zhongqing when they came back. This time, we can all have dinner together. Shi's results were among the best. Although Yang Yi and Murphy did not show it in front of Shi, they were actually very happy. They decided to invite their friends and family to a restaurant to celebrate. The timing was good. It was Friday, and Guazi and Yang Huan did not have classes that night. I'm fine with it. I'll help you inform them that Lu Xiaoshu and Miao Chuan went to Beijing to participate in the coaching training of China's top voice, so it should be just the few of us. I'm not sure if there's anyone else other than Sister Xiaowan. Did Brother Yang ask me to book a table for him? Ding Xiang was already used to her identity as a manager or assistant. She even took out a notebook from her pocket to make notes. He didn't ask. Sigh, Sister Ding Xiang, you don't have to worry about this. My brother has his assistant too. We don't have to trouble ourselves with booking a hotel, Yang Huan said with a smile. I'll inform Feng Tang and the rest. Aren't you going to school this afternoon? You can inform Xiao Gua as well. The relationship between Ding Xiang and Guazi was very mysterious. According to Yang Huan's observation, the two of them had feelings for each other. However, for some reason, neither of them was willing to talk about the last bit of their relationship. They were filming in Beijing during the summer break, and the company rented 2 apartments across from each other. Ding Xiang and Yang Huan stayed in one, and Guazi stayed in the other. Of course, since the girls' rooms needed fresh air, the kitchen in Guazi's room was used by the 2 girls. Usually, Ding Xiang would cook and cook. She would stay at home most of the time when she was filming extras. When Yang Huan was free, she would also help out a little. But most of the time, Ding Xiang would appear at Guazi's place. Interestingly, Yang Huan knew that if she didn't show up, Guazi would be very attentive in going in and out of the kitchen to help Ding Xiang. Even though he was a clumsy young master and had been given everything since he was a child, His attentiveness was still impressive. However, if Yang Huan was there as well, Guozi would be too embarrassed to meddle in the kitchen. Another interesting thing was that Yang Huan could tell that Ding Xiang actually had a good impression of Guozi. It was Guozi's birthday, and no one remembered it. Yang Huan would never remember someone else's birthday. Guozi's family was so busy that they forgot about it. They only remembered it the next day and called him back. But Ding Xiang remembered. Not only did she remember, but she also prepared in advance. She asked Yang Huan for help and used her salary to buy Guozi a cake and a small gift. Yang Huan knew Ding Xiang very well. Ding Xiang was a very frugal person. Even if the company gave her money, she couldn't bear to spend it extravagantly. However, the watch that Ding Xiang bought for Guozi cost more than 1,000 yuan. Although it wasn't a branded watch, Ding Xiang had never bought anything that cost more than 500 yuan for herself. As far as this gift was concerned, Yang Huan felt that it would be strange if Ding Xiang was not interested in Guozi. Then again, Guozi didn't disappoint. Ever since he received the gift, he wore the watch every day. At least, Yang Huan didn't see him take it off. In the afternoon, Ding Xiang rushed to the building of the School of Business Media with a stack of manuscripts. She was in her 4th year this semester. Although she didn't have many classes and was waiting to graduate and start working full-time, she still had to write her graduation thesis. Even if she was a straight-A student, she still had to follow the teacher's procedures and go through the opening report several times. After handing in the opening report in the tutor's office on the 6th floor, Ding Xiang quickly walked to Guozi's classroom. Ding Xiang had Guozi's class schedule. Before she came, she had checked Guozi's class on the 4th floor. Since it was so close, she directly walked down the stairs. "Senior Guozi, I'm your fan. I've liked you for a long time." Ding Xiang was walking down the stairs when she heard a childish voice coming from the corridor. She frowned and hesitated for a moment before stopping. "You are?" Guozi's voice was right. "I'm from the piano department. My name is Xue Baolin. You can also call me Bao. This time, Ding Xiang could tell that the voice wasn't childish. It was the voice of a baby that was popular on the internet. However, it felt like it was pinched. Xue, you're a freshman?" Guozi's response was a little awkward. "Yes. I just entered the school." "Senior Guo, you're really smart." The baby voice giggled. You already called me Bao. Calling Xue Baolin widens the distance. My classmates and friends all call me Bao. Alright, can I call you Brother Guo? What Bao, Brother Guo? Who would call each other so intimately on their first meeting? Moreover, Guozi, why are you still hesitating? Xue Baolin didn't wait for Guozi's agreement and continued, "Brother Guo, let me tell you, I've liked you for 2 years. I've liked you since you filmed Fairy Tale. After that, when you filmed The Limit Challenge, I didn't miss a single episode." "Really? Haha, thank you." Guozi smiled politely. "Did you know? Brother Guo, I got into Zhongqing Media University because of you. My family originally wanted me to study at Sichuan Music Academy, but I liked you so much that I secretly applied for Zhongqing Media University. I didn't expect to really get in. I'm so happy." "Then, I still have to congratulate you." Guozi didn't know how to reply. "When school started, I came to look for you many times. I came every day, but you weren't in school. Your classmates even said that you went to film a movie." Xue Baolin said regretfully, "But it doesn't matter. When I heard that you were back, I immediately came to see you. I'm so happy to see you alive." Have you seen me when I'm not alive?" Guozi actually joked with her. Ding Xiang couldn't help but frown. Brother Guo, what you said is really interesting. Can I have your contact? Mobile phone, SNS, etc. I have many questions to consult you in the future. For example, I just came to Zhongqing Media University and Zhongqing, so I don't know many things. If I can get to know you and learn more from you, it'll be great. Shui Baolin smiled happily and made many requests in one breath. Micro-broadcasting won't be necessary. I've been following your micro-broadcasting for a long time. Oh yes, can we follow each other? With so many requests, what does this woman want? Ding Xiang took a deep breath and clenched her fist. Chapter 857. Should he give her the phone or not? Guazhi was a little conflicted. It was not that Shui Baolin was not pretty. This girl was from the 2D world. She was wearing a princess dress, white stockings, and cute cat ears. She was obviously a cosplay enthusiast. Furthermore, her figure was tall and fair. It was unknown if she wore any padding, but the lace front of her princess dress concealed her two towering peaks. If it weren't for the fact that her face wasn't cute enough, then she would definitely be called cough cough. Anyway, with this kind of appearance and dressing, it would definitely cause a commotion among the group of nerds in the business media school. Guazhi felt terrible when he saw this. He quickly called a girl who came to his door to talk to him in the corridor. The girl did not react to other people's stunned gazes. But it was also expected. Wearing 2D clothes everywhere, she should have long been used to other people's gazes. Guazhi did not deny that when he saw her, he was indeed stunned. And to be honest, with such a beautiful girl from the 2D world coming to his door, and being called senior and brother, it was inevitable that he would feel a little smug in his heart. But Guazhi felt that this girl's childish voice was very strange. It sounded as if there was a clamp on her throat. Was she speaking while pinching her throat? It did not feel real. Guazhi hesitated for a while. He felt that if he did not give her the phone, it would be a little too disrespectful to the girl. Moreover, he was a fatty. What right did he have to act cold to other girls? But if he gave her the phone, Guazhi felt that something was not right. He faintly resisted it in his heart. Could it be that I don't like her voice? But it's also true. Hearing it now gives me goosebumps. If I hear it often, I will not be able to stand it. Sister Ding Xiang's voice is still nice. It's gentle and sincere. But this Shui Baolin is not insincere. It's just that. Sigh, I don't know how to describe it. Guazhi muttered to himself. That's right. Sister Ding Xiang. Guazhi's mind flashed back to the first time Sister Ding Xiang came out in the coffee shop's uniform. That shy look immediately swept away the image of this Shui Baolin in front of him. This, student Shui. Didn't we agree that you can call me Bao-er? That Shui Baolin acted coquettishly again. Ahem, I'll just call you student Shui. I want to apologize to you first. I'm sorry, but I can't give you my number because... Guazhi was still thinking of an excuse. For example, if he spent most of his time filming and his phone was in the hands of his manager? Why? Do you hate me? Shui Baolin asked. Guazhi denied the reason he had just thought of. He had a headache because this woman was a little difficult to deal with. Luckily, he had been recording shows with Yuan Yen and Dan Hongkue for the past year, so his EQ had improved a lot. This is the case. I have a girlfriend. I like her very much, so I can't give her this cell phone number. Do you understand what I mean? Guazhi thought about it and said. You already have a girlfriend. Shui Baolin's voice was filled with regret and sadness. Is it Yang Huan? Doesn't she often bully you on the show? It's not her. Guazhi quickly denied. Then, is it Senior Qin Wan who filmed Fairy Tale with you? Shui Baolin continued. It's not her either. Don't guess. You don't know her. Guazhi finally felt that he had the confidence to talk to her. Your girlfriend cares that you gave your cell phone number to another girl? Isn't that a bit too much? Shui Baolin's eyes and words seemed to be saying, take me as your girlfriend. I don't care too much. Ahem, it's not like that. I just think that since you have a girlfriend, you should take the initiative to keep a distance from other girls. This is what Brother Yang Yi taught me. He has a very good relationship with sister-in-law. Guazhi scratched his head and said, also, my girlfriend is very good to me. She cooks a lot for me. Although she is sometimes very strict, she always thinks about my health. Guazi thought of some of the past events in Shanghai and the capital, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but reveal a sweet smile. Xue Baolin saw it and said with disappointment, I understand. I'm sorry, Brother Gua. I won't disturb you anymore. But I will always like you. I will always follow your works. You must work hard to film Extreme Challenge and sing. I really like your fairy tale. Xue Baolin took the elevator and left with regret. Guazi, on the other hand, was standing behind her. Looking at her leaving silhouette, he gently shook his head and thought to himself, she still claims to be my fan. She's only a true fan if she likes my movies after watching the Extreme Challenge. Guazi returned to the classroom. Not long after, his former roommate bumped his arm and said with envy, It's good to be a big star. Look, there's another beauty outside looking for you. Guazi raised his head and saw Ding Xiang outside. She was a little embarrassed to greet a familiar classmate. A trace of joy flashed across his face and he happily went out to welcome her. Sister Ding Xiang, why are you here? Guazi scratched his head. After he went out, he was a little nervous. This group of bastards, could it be that they told Sister Ding Xiang that the two-dimensional girl came? Ding Xiang looked at Guazi with a complicated expression. It was so complicated that she couldn't explain it. She even didn't dare to look at Guazi. I have something to tell you. Ding Xiang called Guazi to the side. Guazi followed. They walked to the end of the corridor where there was no one. However, Ding Xiang was unexpectedly silent. The atmosphere became a little ambiguous. Guazi was confused and scratched his head. After being silent for a while, Guazi felt uneasy. His heart was in a mess. Don't tell me she really knows? Fortunately, Ding Xiang still opened her mouth. It's like this. Tonight, Brother Yang wants to invite us to a restaurant for dinner. It's been a long time since we got together. Let's get together. She got full marks in 3 exams in school. This is something worth celebrating. Guazi secretly breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Okay. I don't have any other plans tonight. I'll go with you guys. Guazi still didn't want Ding Xiang to know about Xue Baolin. He was a man. Although he didn't do it, he still felt guilty. By the way, although this dinner is mainly because of Shi's good results, Brother Yang said that when we eat, we should try not to mention this. He doesn't want Shi to be proud. Ding Xiang reminded Guazi as usual. This was indeed Yang Yi's request. He was afraid that if there were too many people praising Shi would be proud. Although he and Murphy were very happy and wanted to tell everyone the good news, it was normal for parents. This was just a small test. There was no need to make a big fuss. Okay. I'll remember. Guazi smiled and nodded. However, after Ding Xiang finished speaking, she looked at Guazi with a complicated expression. She hesitated for a while and asked, Is there anything else you want to say to me? Guazi looked at Ding Xiang in confusion. No, I've said everything I want to say. What is there to say now? What do you mean? Ding Xiang smiled and said, No, I was wrong. Let's meet tonight. Chapter 858. Wow, Shi, you look beautiful in your school uniform. You look just like a little lady. Yang Yi and Murphy were the last to arrive because they had to pick up Shi. As soon as they walked into the hotel room, Shi received praise from Mo Shaowan and Ding Xiang. He. Shi pulled the skirt of her school uniform and shook her little but in embarrassment as she smiled sweetly at them. Hearing you guys say that, I suddenly feel that time has passed very quickly. Aside from Big Brother Yang, Big Sister Murphy, and Big Sister Shaowan, I should be the first to know Shi, so I should have the most right to speak. Back then, Shi was still so small, but in the blink of an eye, 2 years have passed, and Shi has grown so tall. Guazi used his hand to show Shi's height back then and said emotionally. Shi blinked her big eyes and looked at the height that Uncle Guazi was showing in astonishment, as if she couldn't believe that she was so small in the past. Yang Yi placed Shi's school bag on the sofa and smiled. Little Gua, you've changed a lot too. 2 years ago, when I met you, you were only 16, right? Almost 17. Gua Zi was probably worried that Ding Xiang would care about the age gap between them when others talked about his age. Therefore, he often deliberately made his age vague and said that he was older. Regardless of 16 or 17, you've grown a lot in the past 2 years. You're almost 1.8 meters now, right? Yang Yi smiled. This is also growth and change. Uncle Little Gua, are you 19 years old now? Shi looked at Gua Zi curiously and asked. Simple addition and subtraction questions within 3 digits weren't difficult for Shi. Yes. Gua Zi patted Shi's shoulder with a smile. The adults gradually shifted the topic and focused to Tong Tong. Shi looked left and right, and then looked at Gua Zi. Uncle Little Gua, Papa said that you were in a big prison and went to act in a movie, right? My papa used to act in a movie, and he was also locked in a big prison before he was released. She pulled Gua Zi's clothes and asked excitedly. Bah, who was locked in a big prison? Of course. She was right. Yang Yi's character was indeed released from prison before he went to the bank. Yeah, I was locked up in a big prison. No, it was just an old and abandoned prison. The crew rented it and rebuilt it into a new set. Gua Zi was a little led astray by Shi. Sensing that something was wrong, he immediately corrected her, because the main plot of that movie took place in prison. Wow. She felt that it was amazing. She had seen a prison in her father's movie, and it seemed to be very big. Wow, what? Gua Zi found it funny and said, Your father knows about this matter better than I do. Because the story of that movie was written by your father. That's right, the movie that Gua Zi went to act in was The Shawshank Redemption. However, he was similar to Du Yuanlei. For such a big production, they could only learn from the crew and didn't have the opportunity to act in an important role. Papa wrote it? She was a little surprised. Yeah. Gua Zi nodded and said, Your father is very awesome. He. I don't know. The little girl twisted her body and smiled shyly. She continued with her previous question and asked curiously, Then, Uncle Little Gua, what role did you play? Was it a big bad guy? Or a good guy? Well, how should I put it? I'm just playing an ordinary prison guard, which is to say, prison police. Gua Zi was afraid that Shi wouldn't understand, so he explained in detail, like those prison police with status, they all wear uniforms with a black coat on the outside. Shi opened her eyes wide and listened with rapt attention. Just like your school uniform. There are a few prison guards with status, and it's easy to recognize them. They all wear coats. Gua Zi pointed to Shi's school uniform and gave an example. They are leaders, so they can speak. But I'm just an ordinary prison guard, so I can't speak without a coat. Then you can buy a coat. Mine is too small, so I can't let you wear it. You can ask my papa to buy it for you. She said naively. Haha, thank you for your concern, but you can't just wear a coat. This is the role arranged by the director, just like how you can play Wang Mai and not Wang Li. Gua Zi laughed happily. Okay then. She spread her hands like a little adult and said, Then I can't help it. However, the little girl was still very interested in filming. She asked Gua Zi about the filming, and Gua Zi also told her some of the highlights of the filming. Oh. This gathering was a rare gathering in the past few months. At the dinner table, the topic of everyone's conversation was naturally not just the 2 little guys. They first talked about each other's development, some interesting and embarrassing things during this summer vacation, and then they talked about Mo Xiaozhuan's relationship problems. Everyone present was more familiar with each other. Mo Xiaowan often met Gua Zi and Ding Xiang. Because of Yang Yi, everyone cared about each other like relatives. Among the women here, Mo Xiaowan, who was only a little younger than Murphy and was about to cross the threshold of 30 this year, naturally received the most attention. Murphy said seriously, I'm not nagging you, but Xiaowan, you really should hurry up. You're not an idol or a public figure who often needs to be exposed. You don't have to get married too late. If you keep delaying it, you'll delay your own life. Sister. Mo Shaowan was a little helpless. She rolled her eyes and said, I'll keep what you said in mind. By the way, Gua, you've been working in director Wu Yian's crew for more than half a month, so you probably don't know that the most famous person at this table is neither your brother Yang nor your sister Murphy, right? Hey, Sister Shaowan, isn't it a little too awkward for you to change the topic? Yang Huan shouted. The others also started to tease Mo Shaowan, and the atmosphere was very cheerful. Huan, if you don't stand on my side, you'll be nagged in a few years. Mo Shaowan said grumpily. Hee, Sister Shaowan, why would I be nagged? Maybe I'll be single in a few years. It's not like no one is chasing me now. Some people even send me flowers every day. They even came to the coffee shop. Yang Huan said with a grin. What? Who's so shameless? Yang Yi's face turned serious. You're here? Brother, no. Some of my classmates who like me sent me flowers. Just ignore them. Yang Huan shrank back, not daring to be mischievous anymore. Hee. Mo Shaowan was very pleased that she had diverted the trouble. She even teased Yang Yi and Yang Huan. Brother-in-law, let me tell you, don't be too strict with Huan now. If you scare those young people away from her, you'll be the one who'll be worried about why no one is chasing her in a few years. Yang Yi frowned. He just realized that Mo Shaowan seemed to have a point. Hearing their conversation, Guazi could not help but turn to Ding Xiang, who was sitting beside him, and ask, Sister Ding Xiang, what did Sister Shaowan mean just now? In fact, the most famous person at our table is not elder brother Yang or elder sister Mo Fei. Who else is there? Ding Xiang's mind wandered when she heard Yang Huan say that there were people chasing her. She was in a daze for a while before she came back to her senses. What are you asking? Chapter 859. The title should be, The Little Girl Who Likes to Be a Teacher. I missed the double quotation marks. Ding Xiang did not hear Guazi's question clearly, but Yang Huan, who was sitting next to Ding Xiang, heard it loud and clear. Earlier, she and Mo Shaowan were hurting each other, but now, she was eager to get away from this dangerous topic. Therefore, she rushed to answer, Of course. The most famous one is Shi, right? She was already full. Since she did not understand what the adults were talking about, she was bored and sat on her chair. She looked at her parents and her little brother. Tong Tong was treated much better, as his mother took good care of him. Although Murphy was talking about Mo Shaowan, she still paid more attention to feeding Tong Tong. The food was carrot and yam porridge that she had brought from home. Other than mashed carrots and yams, there was also pork rib soup that had been skimmed off. The porridge was very tasty and nutritious. However, at this moment, when Cici heard her little aunt mention her name, she curiously turned her head and looked over. She is the most famous one? Guazi was surprised. Yes. Don't limit your view to this country. If you look at it from a global perspective, many foreigners might not know my brother and sister Murphy, but they definitely know Shi. Yang Huan said with a smile. Because she performed a dance, it's popular all over the world now. Many of my classmates have formed a team to perform this dance, and they will upload videos of it. It will be very popular. When Yang Huan saw Shi looking at her, she winked at her and said with a smile, Is that so? Shi, did you perform a dance when you were recording a show in America? Yes. It's a very fun dance. Cici, who was bored, became interested and asked happily, Do you want to learn it? I can teach you. Let Uncle Gua learn from you. He exercises every day, and he has lost half of his weight. He is as light as a swallow, and he will definitely dance well. Yang Huan said with a smile. I don't know how to dance, so you should do it. Guazi waved his hand in a panic. Shi, teach your aunt how to dance. She knows martial arts and has a strong body. She's good at dancing. Mo Xiaowan was watching from the side. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. She smiled and said, I got it. How about this? Shi, teach them how to dance seve at the same time. Record it and let others judge who dances better. Yang Huan and Guazi were dumbfounded. Shi, on the other hand, shouted enthusiastically, Okay. Beside her, Yang Yi laughed. Xiaowan, you're really ruthless. You caught them all in one fell swoop. This is a good thing. Mo Xiaowan explained. Right now, they don't have any works. Recording a short video like this and uploading it to micro-broadcasting can maintain their popularity. Moreover, this dance is not popular in China yet. Under Shi's guidance, they will dance first. During the recording, they will edit Shi's tutorial into the video. When this dance becomes popular, people will not forget about them. Maybe this dance will become popular because of them. We just need to trouble Shi a little. Mo Xiaojuan's train of thought was getting clearer and clearer. By the way, micro-broadcasting can also invite the other 4 contestants of the Extreme Challenge to participate in the dance challenge. It will be a warm-up for next year's Extreme Challenge. Yang Yi, on the other hand, didn't think so much. He muttered to himself for a while and then saw Cici's excited and eager look to teach others. He then nodded and said, We just had a meal today, so I'll teach you tomorrow. Let's go to the coffee shop tomorrow. However, when you get someone to edit the video, please remind them to give Shi as little screen time as possible. She was very happy to teach others the dance that she had spent so much effort to learn. During the teaching process, it might be a good opportunity to show off her skills. The next day, in the small building above the coffee shop, the original studio had been vacated. Everyone had prepared early, including the loose clothes and indoor shoes for dancing. Everything was prepared. When Shi arrived, everyone went straight to the point. For Shi, it was not her first time being a dance teacher. She had taught Ms. Prada before. This time, she was teaching someone she was familiar with, so the little girl was not nervous at all. Standing in the middle of the empty studio, under everyone's gaze, she tilted her head and thought for a while. Then she turned around and asked for the phone from her father. While skillfully pressing the password to unlock the phone, she pouted and said, Let me play some music for you first. It's super nice. She quickly opened the music app and found the song by Seve with ease. Yang Huan did not have many musical talent, so her ability to appreciate songs was limited. After listening for a while, she began to daydream. She smiled and said to Guazi, Xiao Gua, today is the day to test the results of your hard work under Sister Ding Xiang's supervision. You have to learn well. I was forced to do this by you guys. Guazi shook his head helplessly. Dancing is not my ability. Then are you looking down on our coach Shi's skills? Yang Huan teased him on purpose. She was watching from the side. Hearing the teasing, she could not help but giggle. Yang Yi was helping to take pictures with a small camera, but he did not say anything. Murphy smiled and stood up for Yang Huan. Huan, don't always bully Xiao Gua. It's not easy for Xiao Gua. It's his first time learning to dance. You guys should say more encouraging words. That's right. Guazi nodded quickly. Encouraging words? Let Sister Ding Xiang do it. She's the most effective. Yang Huan bumped Ding Xiang's shoulder and said meaningfully. Ah. Ding Xiang said helplessly. She had been keeping a low profile, afraid that they would ask her to dance with them. She did not expect Yang Huan to drag her into this. Murphy had heard some gossip from Yang Yi. At this moment, she said with interest, Ding Xiang, don't let Huan break Xiao Gua's spirit. Sometimes, a word of encouragement from you is more effective than all of our words. The meaning of Mo Fei's words was very obvious. As soon as she finished speaking, Ding Xiang, who was shy, blushed. That's not true. How could my spirit be broken by Master Huan? Guazi was afraid that Ding Xiang would feel awkward, so he took the initiative to help her. In fact, both Yang Huan and Mo Fei had the intention to matchmake the two of them. However, Despite their explicit hints, Ding Xiang and Guazi seemed to be a little hesitant. Instead, they were covering for each other. Of course, Murphy did not dare to make it too clear. If Guazi and Ding Xiang didn't get together, and instead, because they were too anxious, they didn't get along well, wouldn't it be a bad thing if the two of them drifted apart? Of course, the most important thing now was to learn how to dance from Shi. When Shi was listening to the music, although she had not learned how to dance, she had already begun to twist and turn gently, as if she was immersed in the melody. "Let's start now." When the music ended, the little girl said eagerly. Chapter 860. At night, after Yang Yi, Murphy, and Shi returned home, the house became quiet again. After taking a shower, Yang Huan ran to Ding Xiang's room and called out to Ding Xiang, who was still in the living room, "Sister Ding Xiang, can I borrow your computer to edit a video?" Ding Xiang majored in electronic media. Because of her job as a manager, her computer was of high quality. It was much better than Yang Huan's computer, which she used to watch movies and TV shows. Yang Huan's computer was a portable laptop. Editing videos required high memory, better cooling, and an independent graphics card. Of course, Ding Xiang's computer was more convenient. Moreover, Ding Xiang's computer had editing software. "Go ahead. I'm going to take a shower." Ding Xiang didn't mind. Yang Huan dragged the videos to the editing software. She cut, put together, added special effects, and added background music. She had learned all these from Ding Xiang. Yang Huan only wanted to edit some of today's behind-the-scenes scenes for micro-broadcasting. She didn't want to do anything special. Therefore, she didn't want to trouble Ding Xiang. After she was done, while waiting for the videos to be edited, Yang Huan opened the browser out of boredom. She wanted to find something to watch to pass the time. Movies that girls like to watch. Yang Huan searched for this keyword. However, as soon as she typed the word girl, a few search history popped up in the search box. A girl's confession to a boy. What does a girl's confession say? What if a girl's confession fails? Girls were very sensitive to certain words. Yang Huan was stunned when she caught a glimpse of it from the corner of her eye. What was going on? What the hell were these search history? Of course, Yang Huan wasn't stupid. She knew that there was a clock in front of the search history. It meant that someone had searched for the information on this computer. And these search history should have been left behind in the past few days. Why was Yang Huan so sure? Before the holidays last semester, Ding Xiang's computer had been poisoned. She had asked Guazi to help her reinstall the system. After that, they had gone to Beijing. During the entire summer vacation, this desktop computer had been sitting quietly in Ding Xiang's room. No one had touched it. Yang Huan didn't use the computer after she came back. Of course, she knew that she didn't and couldn't search for these keywords. As for Ding Xiang and Guazi, they had only returned a few days ago. Familiar background music. Therefore, there was only one truth. There was only one possibility, and that was the records of Ding Xiang's searches over the past few days. In front of gossip, Yang Huan had become the famous Sherlock Holmes detective Ku Huan. Her eyes lit up. She opened the browser history and looked at the web pages that Ding Xiang had browsed in the past few days. "I was worried about Sister Ding Xiang, so I invaded her privacy. I just wanted to help her." Yang Huan knew it was wrong to do that, so she kept defending herself. Of course, Yang Huan was not trying to find an excuse. She really wanted to help Ding Xiang. If it was something else, Yang Huan wouldn't have gone through someone else's history to do something so immoral. According to the Yang family's education, if Yang Chongguei found out about this kind of petty theft, he would break her legs. From the history, it could be seen that Ding Xiang had browsed a lot of web pages over the past few days. However, most of them were related to literature. She was busy with her graduation thesis, so she needed to look up a lot of information. There were also some web pages related to the entertainment industry. These were Ding Xiang's work. Although Yang Huan and Guazi didn't have any work to do for the time being, as they had classes, Ding Xiang still paid attention to the entertainment industry. Finally, Yang Huan found the web records of Ding Xiang's intensive searches for these questions. It was yesterday afternoon. Yang Huan rested her chin on her hand, looking confused. What happened yesterday? The cursor moved, and suddenly stopped at the earliest record. The person you like has been confessed to. You feel terrible. Why? Chengdu searched. Yang Huan frowned. She opened a web page that Ding Xiang had visited that Chengdu knew about. The main question was, the person I like has been confessed to. To be honest, I feel terrible. We are friends, and he was the first to tell me. What should I do? The following answer was very cruel. This is the result of being indecisive. Why didn't you confess to the person you like at the first moment? However, before Yang Huan could open her eyes, there was a noise outside. Ding Xiang had finished her shower. Yang Huan closed the web page and the history in a hurry. She even closed the browser out of guilt, and the mouse moved around on the editing software. How is it? Is the video out? I want to see it. It was so interesting learning how to dance today. Ding Xiang didn't notice Yang Huan. She pushed the door open and asked with a smile while wiping her hair. How can it be done so quickly? I'm still waiting for it to be done. Yang Huan laughed and changed the topic. Sister Ding Xiang, if you think it's interesting, why didn't you dance when we asked you to? I'm not good at dancing. Ding Xiang blushed again. She recalled how Yang Yi and Murphy tried to arrange her to dance with Guazi. She wasn't stupid. How could she not know what they were trying to do? It's okay if you're not good at dancing. Xiao Guo isn't good at dancing either, right? The two of you are perfect for each other. Yang Huan said with a smile. Yang Huan enunciated the last word very clearly. Furthermore, she was also staring at Ding Xiang's expression as though she was trying to find some clues from it. I'm not a celebrity. It's not good for me to appear in your video, Ding Xiang explained with a red face. Yang Huan sighed in relief. He didn't say no. That means it's still him, not another guy. When is the Limit Challenge coming back? I think such a popular show should be filmed once a week. It can go on forever. Late at night, Jiang Yujie's wailing could be heard in a university dormitory. Jiang Yujie was the variety show fan who was charmed by Strive to Win. Because of this song, he had become Yang Yi's loyal fan. However, during this period of time, he was a little bored. This was because the first season of the Limit Challenge had already ended. As for Yang Yi's other program, China's Voice, which aired once a week, he had already watched it when it first aired on television. You're thinking too much, aren't you? His roommate laughed. The members of the Limit Challenge aren't professional variety show hosts. Big shots like Jie Yuchen and Dan Hongkue need to film too. They can't possibly record shows for you all year long, right? I'm just saying. I know their difficulties. It's good enough that they have time to record shows. It's just a reality show. The other shows aren't good, especially that travel challenge. It's like *T. Jiang Yujie looked at the fake smiles of the handsome guys and pretty girls on the computer screen and closed the web page in disgust. That's right. I think it's a problem with the selection of guests. What kind of guests did the travel challenge invite? What kind of people did the Limit Challenge invite? I think there's an episode where teacher Yuan Yen said it very well. Good looks are all the same, but interesting souls are one in a million, his roommate said. Jiang Yujie reacted quickly and said, in the episode on June 20th, they went to Kaiyun province to play. Jie Yuchen was there showing off. Yuan Yen and Guazi teased him. However, it's quite appropriate for you to use it here. I also think that the guests of the Limit Challenge are all the same. Our Extreme 6 is more interesting. At this moment, another roommate took off his headphones and laughed. Are you guys talking about extreme selections? Did you watch the video that Yang Huan posted just now? It's so interesting. Chapter 861. What video is it? Click on the replay and let's see. Jung Yoo-jae and a few other interested roommates came over and asked him to unplug his earphones to play the video. He didn't know if the education network was slow to react or if this guy's computer was lagging because he often downloaded short videos. After a while, the video finally played. They saw a little girl holding a phone that was much bigger than her palm appear on the computer screen. She looked like she was carved out of jade and was very cute. Although there were Photoshop software in this era and it was very popular to retouch one's own photos, there weren't any powerful beauty features in the shooting tools and video software. Other than special effects artists, most people couldn't slim down or whiten someone's face in a video. Therefore, the girl in the video without any makeup displayed her natural beauty. In the camera, Shishi held the phone and said seriously, "Alright, the song is over. Let's start dancing." At this moment, Yang Yi's voice came from behind the camera. Ask them to warm up first. Before dancing, they should adjust their muscles and bones so that they won't get hurt easily. Cece turned her head and looked at the camera, her father behind the camera. Blinking her eyes, she smiled embarrassedly. I've forgotten about the song. Let me teach Uncle Gue and Auntie Xiao how to warm up first. Where did Yang Huan find this little girl? Aren't those big eyes too cute? And her eyelashes, they can't be fake, right? How can they be so long at such a young age? A roommate mumbled. She's Yang Yi's daughter. Jung Yoo-jae explained helplessly. It can't be fake eyelashes. She has good genes, and her mother is very beautiful. Because the video was edited, the camera didn't drag. Soon, it showed Yang Huan and Guazi warming up. Yang Huan was fine. She practiced martial arts all year round and had a good physique. Her movements were on point. On the other hand, Guazi was the center of everyone's laughter. For example, Guazi could not even touch his ankle when he bent down and touched his toes. Although many people were not as flexible as Guazi, they felt an inexplicable sense of humor when they saw him raise his head with a frown. Yang Huan even ran forward mischievously and showed off his super flexibility in front of Guazi by pressing his palms on the soles of his feet. The camera paused for a second on Guazi's funny face as he rolled his eyes. Sigh, I feel sorry for him. Everyone in the dorm laughed. Gua is really a comedian. His every move is hilarious. Of course, they soon saw Yang Huan make a fool out of herself. The video cut directly to the part where they practiced the dance steps. Shishi first demonstrated a set of very simple front kicks and tiptoes. The little girl even slowed down her movements. There was no sound of Shishi's voice, only funny background music and dance steps. Then, Yang Huan appeared on camera. Maybe it was because she was a beginner, but she couldn't remember the movements. Her body seemed to have lost its coordination. She couldn't differentiate between left and right. After she finished her left kick, she retracted her left leg and tiptoed. Her right leg was in a daze. As she danced, she even kicked in the air with both legs as if she had given up. In the end, she hugged her leg and squatted down. If one looked at this part, Yang Huan indeed didn't have any talent in dancing. She was clumsy. As a matter of fact, Guazi, who was beside him, was already lying on the ground, laughing heartily as he slapped the floor. Haha, Yang Huan, you deserve it. Jung Yoo-jae and his roommates couldn't help but laugh. Of course, these were just highlights. They mainly showed the difficulties and setbacks they had encountered during their dance practice. Yang Huan's micro-broadcasting also said, "Today, Guazi and I learned a super cool dance from teacher Shishi. Don't be fooled by the highlights. When our colleagues edit the video, I promise you that our learning will amaze you." However, the fans under micro-broadcasting were very happy and not serious at all. I don't believe you. Based on your performance just now, you probably have no chance to dance in this lifetime. Gua knows how to dance. Pigs can climb trees. This is the Seve shuffle dance that Shishi did on the Prada talk show, right? Shishi danced well. You guys can forget about it. Haha. You guys are feeling sorry for Gua, but I feel even more sorry for Shishi. Our little cutie must have tried her best to teach them, but she was faced with two uncoordinated people. Two dance maniacs. Teaching them must be very tiring. I came from Chef's micro-broadcasting just to catch a glimpse of our she. Same as the one on the right. I feel sorry for the little girl. I came from Yang Yi's micro-broadcasting plus 1 inch. I'm just asking. You guys only feel sorry for she, but don't you care about what dance they are doing? Not at all. Next. Haha, asking about what dance they are doing. You probably don't pay much attention to the news about Yang Yi and she, right? They're obviously dancing the Seve shuffle dance that's popular overseas. Although Yang Huan and Guazi had gained a lot of fans because of the video that night, Yang Huan didn't sleep well the whole night. Sigh, why is Sister Ding Xiang so silly? She's so cute. As a girl, she actually wants to take the initiative to confess her love. Yang Huan tossed and turned in bed. Compared to her, Gua is too timid. He has liked Sister Ding Xiang for so long, but he hasn't done anything yet. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't do anything. Guazi was very nice to Ding Xiang. For example, when he went to record a show, he didn't care about anyone and just brought a local souvenir for Ding Xiang. Usually, Guazi also took care of Ding Xiang in small details, which was something that the careless Yang Huan didn't notice. However, Yang Huan was right. Guazi didn't make any breakthrough in the past few months. This won't do. The relationship between Guazi and Sister Ding Xiang is a little. No, it should be said that there is a gap in all aspects between them. If Sister Ding Xiang confesses her love to Guazi, Sister Ding Xiang will be putting herself in a lower position. Yang Huan was worried about Ding Xiang. Although Yang Huan had never been in a relationship before, she had watched a lot of movies and dramas to learn how to act. She especially watched domestic soap operas and melodramatic family dramas, so she had a lot of experience. When analyzing the relationship between a man and a woman, she even skipped the factor of love and directly involved the complicated factors such as family status and the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. The more Yang Huan thought about it, the more excited she became. In the middle of the night, the righteous Lord Huan sat up from the bed and patted his thigh. No way, I have to help Sister Ding Xiang. The next day was Sunday. Guazi had already returned home, but he received a call from Yang Huan. Guazi, where are you? I have something to talk to you about. He was confused, but he still went out to meet Yang Huan. Chapter 862. Yang Huan didn't know that her half-baked detective, Ku Huan, was indeed a half-baked detective. She had only guessed half of Ding Xiang's thoughts. Of course, to clarify all of this, one had to rewind time to the afternoon 2 days ago. Ding Xiang stood in the stairwell, not knowing whether to move forward or backward. She clenched her fists and listened to Xue Baolin's confession to Guazi. Brother Gua, why aren't you saying anything? Ahem, I just find it strange. I'm fat and ugly, and the fans of the Extreme Challenge call me Little Fatty Gua. Why would you, like me? Who said you're ugly? Although you're just a little chubbier, you're still very handsome. Also, people say that fat people have potential. I think they're right. You should be on a diet now. You've lost a lot of weight, and you've become more handsome. Really, you have a lot of female fans online. Everyone says you're gentle and caring. But I like your intelligence more. You're too smart. Every time I see you fighting with Yuan Yen, I'm so excited that I tremble all over. Ding Xiang's eyes dimmed, and she loosened her grip on his hand. When she heard Xue Baolin say that Guazi had become even more handsome after losing weight, Ding Xiang felt like she was regretting teaching her husband to seek a title. However, just as Ding Xiang was feeling sad, Guazi's words entered her ears. I have a girlfriend, and I like her a lot. Ding Xiang raised her head in surprise. Guazi had a girlfriend? Why didn't she know? Then, she heard Guazi say, my girlfriend is quite nice to me. She cooks a lot for me. Although she's strict sometimes, she's always thinking about my health. Ding Xiang was stunned. Weren't these clues pointing to her? At that moment, Ding Xiang's emotions were in turmoil and became even more complicated. How did Ding Xiang feel about Guazi? Ding Xiang had the most right to speak. In the beginning, Guazi could only be regarded as a junior brother that left a deep impression on her. At that time, Guazi's character was still immature. He was just a little kid who hadn't grown up yet. He shamelessly wanted to go to the bar where she worked to play. If it weren't for Ding Xiang's good character and tolerance towards Guazi, if it was someone else, they probably wouldn't have bothered with Guazi. However, Ding Xiang did not expect that Guazi would return the favor and take the initiative to help her find a stable job in Yangyi. For this, Ding Xiang had always been grateful to Guazi. She even felt that Guazi was not only her friend, but also her benefactor, a benefactor just like Yangyi. Therefore, when she was just a waitress, Ding Xiang had always been very tolerant of Guazi. If Guazi wanted to eat cake, Ding Xiang would also make delicious cakes. Of course, she was just an employee, and Guazi had to pay for it. During this period, something very special happened. Last year, on Ding Xiang's birthday, Guazi bought a birthday present for Ding Xiang. It was the crystal hair clip that Ding Xiang had taken a fancy to when Guazi accompanied her to buy a present for Murphy. Although Guazi had a good memory, he could keep the things that he liked in his heart and secretly bought it for her. This matter still stirred up a lot of waves in Ding Xiang's heart. Ding Xiang was very touched. But at that time, Ding Xiang's heart was thinking about her younger brothers and sisters in her hometown. She would send the money back when she earned it. Her life was tight, and she didn't have the mood to think about more complicated issues. This matter only stopped at the feeling of opening the gift. This situation continued until Yang Yi helped Ding Xiang solve her worries. Ding Xiang finally decided to live a good life and set an example for her younger brothers and sisters. From then on, Ding Xiang was the complete Ding Xiang. She began to save her own money and started to plan her career path. At the beginning, she was like a normal girl, having some romantic feelings. For a girl like Ding Xiang who had no feelings and a narrow circle of contacts, it was easier for her to be moved by the people around her. Tang Kai Tai and his father were imprisoned, and Qianli Chuanshu regained his freedom. Last November, they celebrated at the coffee shop, which reminded Ding Xiang of something that she had forgotten for a long time. At that time, Tang Kai Tai came to the coffee shop to harass Ding Xiang in order to get in touch with Yang Yi. Guazi stepped forward bravely and punched Tang Kai Tai to the ground. True feelings are like plum blossoms, which can't be drowned by the cold ice and snow. It blooms on the coldest branch, seeing spring coming to you and me. Ding Xiang listened to Yang Yi singing this song. What she thought in her heart was completely different from what the others in the coffee shop thought. Although there were some signs, it was still very vague. The feelings really began to brew at the beginning of this year. Guazi began to lose weight. After he shamelessly pestered her, Ding Xiang also took responsibility for him. She helped him develop a weight loss plan, even accompanied him to Shanghai to film a movie and took care of his daily life. It seemed that Ding Xiang was just doing what an agent and assistant should do. However, during this period of time, the two of them still had some sparks. But these sparks were still unable to ignite the firewood of love. Just as Guazi said to Yang Yi, he was worried that he wasn't strong enough to protect Ding Xiang in front of his family. Guazi didn't dare to take the most important step. And Ding Xiang felt too inferior. She knew that Guazi came from a prominent family, but she also knew that she came from a humble background. The story of the prince and Cinderella only exists in fairy tales. This sentence was said by Yang Yi when he was chatting with someone. Ding Xiang couldn't remember where it came from. Perhaps she overheard it when she was delivering coffee, but it left a deep impression on her. Although they could vaguely sense that the other party was interested in her, neither of them dared to act rashly. This dragged on for half a year. In the corridor, Ding Xiang's mood dropped. When she heard Guazi clearly say that he liked the person who took care of him, Ding Xiang was so happy that she almost cried. She suppressed her tumbling emotions and returned to the coffee shop. She looked up the information that Yang Huan found when she was browsing through the historical records. Yes, Ding Xiang confirmed that she liked Guazi. She also knew that if she didn't bravely confess, they might miss each other forever. Ding Xiang even looked up whether a girl's confession would be successful and how a girl would confess, etc. However, Yang Huan didn't know that after looking up the information, Ding Xiang sat in front of the computer in a daze for a long time. In the end, she dragged a notebook into the computer's trash can. It was a list of her confessions experiences and common phrases she used to confess. For half a year, she didn't have the courage to face this. Did Ding Xiang have the courage to face it now? There was a difference between Ding Xiang and Yang Huan. Yang Huan was emotional and straightforward, but Ding Xiang was rational. After she calmed down, she started to worry that her impulsiveness would bring trouble to Guazi. Even though she knew that Guazi liked her, even though Guazi's words when he rejected Xue Baolin made Ding Xiang believe that Guazi was the one she loved. However, she also knew that there was a fatal gap between them that couldn't be crossed. Otherwise, why didn't Guazi confess to her? Liking someone was presumptuous, but love was restraint. For his sake, she also needed to restrain herself. After Ding Xiang thought it through, she felt a strong sense of powerlessness in her heart. The courage that she had accumulated was also destroyed by her rationality. In the past 2 days, no one could tell that Ding Xiang was hiding her sadness amidst everyone's laughter. However, after being sad, she still had to continue living, right? Chapter 863. Lights and shadows intertwined, and the clock returned to normal. Guazi was full of doubts as he rushed to the Wu Lake Park in Zhongqing, which was near his home. As promised, he arrived at a milk tea shop. Before he could stand still, a person jumped out from the side and grabbed his arm, shouting anxiously, "Go, go, 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 go." The person was strong, but her slender hand gripped Guazi's arm so tightly that it hurt. Luckily, Guazi recognized Yang Huan's voice. "What's wrong with you? Master Huan, why are you in such a hurry? Let me treat you to a cup of milk tea." Guazi asked in confusion. "Hey, there's no rush for milk tea. I think a fan recognized me just now. Let's go and find a quiet place to talk." Yang Huan was a little worried that her private meeting with Guazi would be reported and cause a misunderstanding. Luckily, this was Guazi's turf, and he was familiar with it. Soon, Guazi brought Yang Huan to the lakeside of Wu Lake Park. They found a relatively remote bench and sat down to talk. But before Guazi could ask, Yang Huan, who could no longer hold back, asked, "Xiao Gua, someone confessed to you on Friday, right?" Yang Huan was making a final confirmation. Although she could basically confirm the complicated relationship between Ding Xiang and Guazi, what if she was wrong? If it was not Guazi, and she had hurried over to persuade him, it would be awkward. Guazi was shocked. He scratched his head and said embarrassedly, "How did you know? Did my classmates tell you? Did someone really confess to you? I don't care who told me. Tell me first, who confessed to you? How did they fall for you?" Yang Huan was gossipy and teasing him. Guazi thought that Yang Huan knew, so he did not hide it. He told Yang Huan about the two-dimensional girl. Listening to Guazi's explanation, Yang Huan thought to herself, that must be it. Sister Ding Xiang must have met her at that time, and that's why she was shocked. "Sure. Lil Guazi, I didn't know you were so charming." Yang Huan patted Guazi's shoulder like a man. "How did you respond? You promised that girl?" "No, she didn't confess. She just asked for my phone number." Guazi could tell that although Yang Huan kept asking, her attitude towards him was the same as usual. Therefore, he let out a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "Lord Huan, how could I dare to give out my phone number? See, I refused on the spot." Did he really refuse? Yang Huan's eyes lit up. "I really rejected her." Guazi smiled and said, "I even lied to her that I have a girlfriend." Yang Huan flicked her bangs, and a look of realization appeared in her eyes. "Why are you suddenly asking this?" Guazi asked curiously. However, Yang Huan did not intend to answer him. She changed the topic abruptly. "Xiao Gua, you have to tell me the truth. Are you still in love with Sister Ding Xiang?" Guazi was stunned and did not know how to answer. "Tell me, Yang Huan said unhappily. You are a man. Don't be so wishy-washy. If you are in love with her, then you are. Why don't you dare to admit it? Lord Huan, what are you trying to say? Guazi said helplessly. Why did you come here early in the morning to ask me these questions? Of course, I have something to tell you. But I have to make sure about this first. Yang Huan said seriously, I mean the kind of love between a man and a woman, not just between friends. If you tell me that you are not in love with Sister Ding Xiang, I don't need to tell you what I want to tell you, because it is very important. Guazi was still confused, but he could see the seriousness in Yang Huan's expression. Guazi hesitated for a while, then nodded gently and said, Okay, I admit that I do like Sister Ding Xiang. Did Brother Yang tell you? But don't tell Sister Ding Xiang. Before he could finish, Yang Huan laughed and said, That's enough. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? I have known that you like Sister Ding Xiang for a long time. At the end of last semester, my brother talked to you. Do you think he found out? I told him, didn't I? Now I want to know if you have a change of heart. Do I look like a playboy? Guazi complained. Okay, I am being paranoid. I am sorry, Xiao Gua. I am worried about you and Sister Ding Xiang. Yang Huan was a bit embarrassed. I will not keep you in suspense. I am here today to ask you something. You have liked Sister Ding Xiang for so long. Why haven't you confessed your love to her? Guazi was stunned and did not know how to answer. You are a man. Don't you know how to take the initiative? Show the courage you had when you sang for Senior Sister Du at the freshman party. Yang Huan continued. She had heard about this from everyone. It is not that I don't want to take the initiative, but I don't think it is the right time yet, Guazi stammered. If he were to explain everything as he had told Yang Yi, there would be a lot of things to say. Yang Huan did not have Yang Yi's patience. She frowned and said, What do you mean it is not the right time yet? You like Sister Ding Xiang, and Sister Ding Xiang likes you. Why don't you give it a try? Don't worry about being friends. If you can't be friends, you can be husband and wife. Master Huan's words had always been shocking. Guazi knew how Ding Xiang felt about him. He smiled bitterly and said, Lord Huan, it is not as simple as you think. I am not sure. You can't expect a girl to confess to you, right? Let me tell you, Xiaogua, as a man, you have to confess first. Before Yang Huan could finish, Guazi, who was smart, had already figured out something. He asked in surprise, Confess first? Lord Huan, what do you mean? Is Sister Ding Xiang going to? Yang Huan saw that Guazi had guessed it, so she did not try to hide it. She said directly, That's right. I am so angry because of you. After so long, Sister Ding Xiang is going to confess to you. Ah. Guazi was dumbfounded. When that girl confessed to you, Sister Ding Xiang saw it too. Translator, WQL editor. Alim. Before Yang Huan finished his words, Guazi had figured out the relationship between these events at once. Additionally, Ding Xiang's eyes flashed in his mind. At the same time, he recalled Ding Xiang's words, Is there anything else you want to tell me? Guazi was a little guilty at that time. Now that he thought about it, everything was connected. While Guazi was lost in his thoughts, Yang Huan told him how Ding Xiang was going to confess to him. She couldn't wait. She was afraid that Shui Baolin or Shui Baobao would steal you away. She probably heard you rejecting that girl, so she decided to confess to you. Yang Huan said with disappointment. Xiao Gua, as a man, how can you not be as brave as a girl? When Guazi was stunned by the sudden news, Yang Huan lectured him seriously. Sister Ding Xiang's family is not as rich as yours. You still want her to pluck up the courage to confess to you? What position will she have in the family in the future? I know. I didn't dare to confess because of these problems. But Lord Huan, don't misunderstand. I am not saying that Sister Ding Xiang is not good. I am just worried that my family will reject her. I don't want her to be hurt. Guazi finally came to himself. He was moved and said seriously, Then what do you want? Yong Huan scratched his hair angrily and asked, I used to work hard to make myself better. If there was a chance, I would try to pursue Sister Ding Xiang, Guazi said in a low voice, lowering his eyes. But now, I know what you mean. As a man, how can I wait for a girl to confess to me? Guazi raised his head and clenched his fists. His body was trembling with excitement. I should have fallen in love with Sister Ding Xiang first. I was the one who pursued her. So I should be the one to confess to Sister Ding Xiang. Guazi was moved by Yong Huan's words about Sister Ding Xiang's confession. He decided not to care so much. He thought to himself, I want to be with Sister Ding Xiang. No matter who tried to stop him, it was useless. Chapter 864. If you want to buy flowers, put them in the shape of a heart and give her a surprise. You'd better sing a song. I think singing is a good idea, but don't sing fairy tale. Fairy tale is too sad. Also, don't sing University Days. You've already sung that song to Senior Do. If you use it again, you'll be beaten to death. How about playing the piano? I think it's very romantic. You'd better put candles in the coffee shop. Record a video. This time, make it bigger. Ask Wang Chao and Zhu Liang to record the whole process. We can keep it as a souvenir in the future. After making up his mind, Guazi went home to pack his things and sneaked out. He followed Yong Huan to Yang Yi's villa, where he was instructed and trained by Yong Huan and Murphy. Murphy and Yong Huan were very active in this matter, especially Murphy. When she heard that Guazi was going to confess his love to Ding Xiang, she excitedly gave Guazi a lot of ideas. Cici seemed to be infected by them. She jumped around and finally threw herself on her father's shoulder. She leaned close to her father's ear and whispered, Papa, what are you talking about? I want to play with you. At first, Yang Yi was listening to Mo Fei and the others, so he didn't pay attention to Cici. The little girl was a little reluctant. She turned around and pressed her body into her father's arms. She kicked her long legs on the ground and arched her father with her little butt, trying to attract his attention. However, she was pressed down by her father's big hand and held tightly in his arms, unable to move. Hee, I'm almost out of breath. She struggled for a while and found that she couldn't get out. Her hair was messed up, and she laughed breathlessly. On the other side, after listening to their opinions, Guazi felt a headache coming on. He scratched his head and said embarrassedly, Sister Mo Fei, Lord Huan, isn't this a bit too grand? I think Sister Ding Xiang, according to her personality, she probably doesn't like to be extravagant and wasteful. If we do this, won't it be counterproductive? Yong Huan and Murphy looked at each other in bewilderment. That does make sense. Sister Ding Xiang doesn't like grand occasions, Yong Huan said. You don't even want the flowers? I feel that without flowers, this confession scene will be much inferior. Murphy reluctantly said, Furthermore, there's no woman who doesn't like flowers. If it's flowers, I can buy a small bouquet, but there's no need for candles, decorations, or Brother Wang Chao to record the video. Guazi hesitated. It's not good to have too many people. Why wasn't it good to have more people? Guazi explained, If I ask a lot of friends to help me, Sister Ding Xiang will be under a lot of pressure when I confess. She may have many considerations in her mind, and she may even be worried that I will embarrass her and be too embarrassed to reject me. I don't want to put pressure on her. I want to give her space to make a choice. Why would she reject you? Sister Ding Xiang likes you too. Yong Huan did not consider everything as she said hurriedly. Huan, little Gua is right. No matter what you see now, Ding Xiang will have her own considerations. We should respect her decision. You and I can't even talk about matters of the heart clearly. How can you be so sure that Ding Xiang will agree before she nods her head? Yang Yi finally spoke. I think little Gua is right. We need to give Ding Xiang space to make a choice. I have always liked Ding Xiang, and I can probably understand her character. Although she looks soft and weak, she is also a very kind and opinionated girl. It is not good for us to swarm over and watch. Mo Fei thought for a while and said, "Then what should we do? I mean, what if Sister Ding Xiang rejects you?" Yang Huan stared at him in surprise. A trace of confusion flashed through Guazi's eyes. He scratched his head and said, "If Sister Ding Xiang refuses, I will respect her choice." It was painful to say such words. However, Yang Yi patted his head and said angrily, "You're discouraged because of one setback? Don't you know how to work harder and try again next time?" Guazi looked at Yang Yi in confusion. "You even told me to stay by your side and protect Ding Xiang in front of your parents. You said that you must give her happiness. If you always give up so easily, even if Ding Xiang agrees this time, you will still have to face the resistance of her family and the opposition of her fans. Can you really go on with her?" Yang Yi questioned. Guazi clenched his fists and said unwillingly, No, I won't give up so easily." "That's right." Yang Huan waved his fists excitedly and said, "If you dare to disappoint Sister Ding Xiang, I'll beat you to death." Murphy looked at them, who were unforgiving but actually cared about Guazi. She didn't know why she was touched. She shook her head with a smile and said, "You're going too far. Let's think of a better way for Xiao Gua to confess his love first. Since you all said that we should keep it simple and try not to watch, then Xiao Gua and Ding Xiang will be the main characters." "Brother, aren't you a romantic person? I've heard a lot from Sister Xiaoan. When you confess or propose to sister-in-law, you're always so troublesome." Yang Huan turned to Yang Yi and said expectantly, "Can you give Xiao Gua an idea?" "The only thing I can think of is singing," Yang Yi said after a moment of hesitation. Singing was one of the most important things in his romantic life. "But I've thought of a song that suits you and Ding Xiang," Yang Yi said. After giving Guazi advice, they made a lot of noise for the whole day. It was not until night fell that the villa was quiet again. Shi, help Dad get the shoes." After seeing Guazi and Yang Huan off, Yang Yi went back to the living room. However, Shi turned her head and looked to the other side with her mouth pouted. The little girl was angry with her dad. "What's wrong? Why are you unhappy? Or are you angry with Dad?" Yang Yi walked over and sat beside Shi. Although the little girl wanted to be angry with her dad, she had been murmuring to herself, "Humph, don't talk to Dad." However, she could not hold back her words. As soon as Yang Yi sat down beside her, she could not hold it in anymore. When her dad asked her for the second time, she jumped up from the sofa and said angrily with her hands on her waist, "You don't play with me, and you don't take me to play with you. This is not a game. It's very important to Uncle Gua," Yang Yi explained. "If we could play with you, why didn't Dad take you with us?" But you're too boring." The little girl did not know how to blame her dad and mom. She said unhappily, "If I had known, I would have played with Xionaire." She went shopping with her mom. It must be fun to play with Xionaire. Yang Yi sighed inwardly. She had indeed reached the age where she liked to play with children of the same age. Although she still relied on her dad's company, she could not understand or integrate into the world of adults. Unlike before, when she could sit by the side and play for half a day, she needed playmates. "Well, you've made some new friends at school, haven't you?" Yang Yi touched Shi's little head and said softly, "Invite them to play at home next weekend, okay? Invite Chi, Chen Shiyun, and Nan Xiaoyu." Shi immediately forgot her unhappiness and cried out in surprise, "Really? I want to invite them to play. I want to invite Xiaoyu." Chapter 865. On Tuesday night, the other shops outside the north gate of Jiangqing Media University had already finished their business for the day. Their doors were tightly shut. Other than the dim street lights, there was only the coffee shop on the corner of the street. The windows there were still warm and gentle lights. However, even the coffee shop on the corner of the street didn't have any customers lingering around at this time. It was almost time for it to close. Tang, didn't you say that you have homework to do tonight?" Ding Xiang's voice rang out in the coffee shop. "If there's nothing else, You can go back first. Sugar Cube, who was sneakily stuffing a CD into the audio console, was startled. She raised her head and looked around. When she saw that Ding Xiang, who was cleaning the dust on the bookshelf with a feather duster, didn't see her actions, she secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Sister Ding Xiang, but I haven't cleaned up yet. Sugar Cube said. It's okay. You go do your work. I'll do it today. Ding Xiang turned her head and smiled. Who hasn't had a time when they can't take care of both ends? Anyway, I have nothing to do. Of course, Sugar Cube didn't really have anything to do. When she heard Ding Xiang's words, she felt even more guilty. She said embarrassedly, Sister Ding Xiang, I don't know what to say. You're really too kind. After Sugar Cube left, Ding Xiang put away the feather duster not long after. She went to the bathroom at the back to get a mop and started to get busy. Although it wouldn't be too dirty if she didn't clean it for a day, Ding Xiang still inherited Yang Yi's habit of loving cleanliness. She always placed the cleanliness of the coffee shop first. She even arranged for a few part-time waitresses, including Sugar Cube, who had only been here for half a year, to take turns cleaning the shop. After a while, Ding Xiang went to the back to change the water. However, when she came out of the bathroom with a mop in her hand, she couldn't help but be stunned. Why did the lights in the coffee shop change? Originally, she had turned on the normal incandescent lights to make it easier to find the dirty things on the floor. Why did it become a dim chandelier? The chandelier was used to create a romantic atmosphere for customers. At this moment, it also decorated the coffee shop with flickering shadows. Who's there? Ding Xiang was startled. She gripped the mop tightly and asked nervously. Although most of the people in the university town were students and teachers, it was not a utopian paradise. Because some people with bad intentions knew that university students were easy to bully, they would also come here. There were cases of petty theft and even robbery from time to time. Ding Xiang remembered that 2 years ago, a dagger was found in the bushes near the school's main entrance. That month, the entire school students were like birds startled by the twang of a bow. At night, they obediently stayed in their dorms, not daring to go out. Fortunately, not long after she asked, Guazi's embarrassed voice came from the bar counter. Sister Ding Xiang, it's me. Little Gua. Ding Xiang was worried, so she grabbed the mop and walked over. Seeing Guazi scratching his head and standing at the bar counter with an awkward expression, she asked suspiciously, What are you doing? Why would he come to the bar counter at this time? Was he trying to steal money? But Ding Xiang knew that Guazi was not short of money. Guazi pointed at the sound console next to him and said dejectedly, I'm playing with this, but I can't find the play button. Yes, he fiddled with it for a long time, but he could not make any sound. Of course, it was also because the light was too dim, so he could not see the small words on it. Ding Xiang frowned and walked over. Why are you fiddling with the sound system in the middle of the night? Also, you turned off the lights without telling me. I want to sing a song for you. Guazi stammered, but I didn't learn the accompaniment, so I recorded an accompaniment. Sugar Cube helped me put it in, but I got the wrong button. Ding Xiang walked closer and saw the small bouquet of roses that Guazi put in the bar counter. Suddenly, she understood. Her face turned red, and the blame she had for Guazi just now disappeared without a trace. What was left was an inexplicable nervousness. Sing. I don't need to sing, right? Ding Xiang had only heard about it from Murphy. When it was her turn to deal with it, she panicked. She did not know where to put her hands and feet, and said inconsistently, Butterflies in the stomach. This phrase was the most suitable to describe Ding Xiang's mood at this moment. Guazi was dumbfounded. He scratched his head and stammered, Don't need to sing? Then what should I do? Ding Xiang did not know how to answer. She was still in a state of confusion. Her face was red, and she did not dare to look at Guazi's eyes. Guazi was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, pacing back and forth. Finally, Ding Xiang walked over, reached out to the sound console, and pressed a button. The accompaniment music finally sounded. At the beginning, it was a string of light electric prelude. Soon, it entered the guitar accompaniment. This, can I back off? Guazi wished he could find a hole to hide in. I didn't react in time. It's a little too much. Ding Xiang could only press a few more buttons. She was a little close to Guazi. She felt that her face was burning, and even her ears were burning. She had never experienced this kind of feeling before. In the silence of the two, the music accompaniment sounded again. This time, Guazi was prepared. He calmed himself down and waited for the electric music to stop. Then he stepped on the guitar accompaniment and began to sing. Note 1, please be sure to watch it first. In the rain, at night, in this alley. Without the microphone, Guazi gently hummed beside Ding Xiang. His voice seemed to have become gentle. It had never been so gentle. Ding Xiang was at a loss. She did not know if she should leave the bar counter. The two of them were squeezed in the small bar counter. They were so close that she could feel Guazi's breathing not far from her ear. Meeting your beautiful Miss Ding Xiang, your eyes are so soft and bright. This section of lyrics was very straightforward. When Guazi sang, his voice trembled. Ding Xiang could not help but tremble slightly. At this moment, how could she not be sure of Guazi's intentions? But her brain was already in a state of shutdown. She could only shyly lower her head and look at her toes in a daze. Guazi sang softly. Due to the influence from earlier, he did not sing very well at the beginning. But this kind of song was sung with deep emotions. It was naturally pleasant to listen to. Your sigh makes me stop thinking. Your footsteps make me lose my direction. My dear lady, the night is still long. Please let me accompany you until dawn. Guazi could see Ding Xiang's shy expression, which stimulated his restless heart even more. He was also affected by the deep emotions contained in the lyrics. Finally, he could not help but muster up the courage to reach out and hold Ding Xiang's hand. When Ding Xiang's hand was grabbed by Guazi, she subconsciously wanted to withdraw her hand. But she only trembled and did not move in the end. The girl's heart was also a little confused at this moment. She felt that she should not pull her hand out. No, she was still struggling in her heart. But in this kind of singing, she still did not bring up the idea of pulling her hand out. She was very flustered. Miss Ding Xiang has a lot of things to say to you. Miss Ding Xiang has a song to sing to you. This world has brought me too much confusion. I hope that you can give me hope. Guazi held Ding Xiang's hand. His mood suddenly became bright and cheerful. Even his humming voice had a trace of sweetness. The lyrics of this song were not complicated. After repeating it a few times, Guazi finally used his most affectionate voice to slowly sing. Miss Ding Xiang has a lot of things to say to you. Miss Ding Xiang has a song to sing to you. No matter where you go, I am willing to accompany you until the end of time. The song ended, but the accompaniment was not yet heard. It seemed that after a while, when everything became quiet, Guazi's voice sounded again. Sister Ding Xiang, I like you. Chapter 866. Sister-in-law, do you think little Gua and the others can make it? In the private room of a big hotel in the university town, Yang Huan, the third party, was anxious and restless. She was excited one moment, and then she looked even more nervous than Guazi the next moment. I don't know. Didn't he leave a while ago? Why hasn't he called yet? Murphy was also looking forward to the result of Guazi's confession. My phone is silent. I've checked it several times. Yang Huan sighed. Sigh. I want to call him or Sister Ding Xiang to ask about the progress. Don't call. Murphy quickly stopped her. If he's still confessing, wouldn't it be bad if you call him now? Hee. I'm just saying. I'm not stupid. Yang Huan winked at Murphy and smiled mischievously. Yang Yi turned to look at them, shook his head, and ignored them. He continued to help Shi with her homework. The little girl had come here with her parents after school today. In order not to have to go back to do her homework, she was racing against time to do her homework after dinner. Splash. Splash. At night, the sound of water was soft and slow beside the Grand Canal. It was as if a low and melodious melody was echoing in the quiet night. The night wind in early autumn was chilly. There should be no one around the Grand Canal at this time, but today was special. A man and a woman were walking slowly on the Grand Canal, hand in hand. "Why did you suddenly decide to confess to me today?" Ding Xiang's shy voice came faintly from the darkness. Because, Sister Ding Xiang, I've liked you for a long time," Guazi stammered. "I know. I have feelings for you. But I can also feel what you're afraid of." Ding Xiang stopped and looked down at Guazi's hand that was holding hers. While singing, this guy secretly held Ding Xiang's hand and refused to let go no matter what she said. Even after the song was over, he confessed and waited for Ding Xiang's response, but he shamelessly refused to let go. Afterwards, Ding Xiang looked at Guazi. Under the night sky, it was hard to see her expression, but Guazi could hear the unhappiness in her voice. "You didn't tell me the truth. Just now. You were already hesitating." She was indeed a person with a high IQ. Coupled with the nature of a woman, Ding Xiang was not even blinded by love. Her judgment of the situation was extremely accurate. "All right, I'll tell you the truth. Because Master Huan accidentally saw some records of your search engine and found out about your plans," she told me. "I also felt that I should have confessed first. I couldn't let you suffer, so I confessed first." Guazi couldn't withstand the interrogation, and said directly, "My plan? What plan do I have?" Ding Xiang thought for a moment and suddenly had an answer. "You're saying that Huan saw some of the things I checked and thought that I was going to confess to you, so she went to force you to confess first." This brain. Its logical reasoning ability was many times better than the famous detective Ku Huan's. "Something like that, but she didn't force me to confess. I did it willingly," Guazi said anxiously. However, his brain wasn't any worse than Ding Xiang's. After a while, he noticed the loophole in Ding Xiang's words and felt that something was wrong. "Wait, you're saying that Master Huan got it wrong? You didn't want to confess to me?" At this moment, Guazi wished he could cover his mouth. "Why did you mention this?" She had already nodded. Why did you still care if she had this intention in the past? Could it be that if Sister Ding Xiang didn't have the intention to confess, you would regret rushing to confess first? However, Ding Xiang didn't have so many twists and turns in her heart. She looked at Guazi awkwardly and hesitated for a moment before stammering, "I originally had such a plan, but later I gave up on it." "Why?" Guazi couldn't help but ask. "What do you think? Why didn't you dare to confess for so long?" "That's why I gave up on this plan," Ding Xiang said faintly. Indeed, a smart person's words were simple. Guazi scratched his head and said embarrassedly, "It's not that I didn't dare to, but I was worried that I didn't have the ability to protect you. I told Brother Yang that I would work hard to become a best actor and have my own identity and status. When that time comes, I can tell the whole world that I love you, and I won't have to worry about other people's reactions." Ding Xiang was stunned. In the dark, her expression couldn't be seen clearly, but after a while, she turned around and wrapped her arms around Guazi's waist and threw herself into his embrace. Guazi's weight loss for the past half a year was very effective. His belly was no longer a hindrance. Ding Xiang's hug made Guazi surprised and embarrassed. His hands froze in the air and didn't know where to put them. That, Sister Ding Xiang, are you cold? Let me take off my jacket for you to wear?" Guazi stammered for a long time before squeezing out this sentence. Ding Xiang chuckled, but she didn't say anything. She only shook her head and tightened her grip on Guazi's waist. After a while, the two of them separated as if they were electrocuted. In the dark, their faces couldn't be seen clearly, but they could faintly see that Guazi's buttocks were slightly raised. "This, cough, Sister Ding Xiang, Guazi was so embarrassed that he didn't know how to explain. Ding Xiang coughed twice and pretended to be calm as she said, "Let's sit down and talk. Since we have decided to be together, then we have to have a plan. Otherwise, we won't be able to last long." "How can that be?" Guazi said excitedly as if he had been injected with chicken blood, "We will definitely be together forever and grow old together. I won't fall in love with someone else." Hey, don't be so agitated. I'm not talking about you. I'm saying that since we're together, we have to face difficulties together, have a plan for our future, and work hard together. Ding Xiang said impatiently. Compared to Guazi, Ding Xiang was more organized. Okay. Guazi nodded his head cleanly this time. The two of them were very crazy. It was autumn and the night wind was chilly. They even sat down on the empty dam with their legs hanging outside, preparing to discuss important matters together. Guazi was a little absent-minded. His hand was like an ant crawling over, but at the last moment of contact, he was a little scared and asked hesitantly, "Sister Ding Xiang, can I hold your hand?" Ding Xiang was angry and amused at the same time. However, wasn't this the Guazi that she liked? When he was smart, he could come up with brilliant plans to conquer the world. When he was with her, he was silly and cute. "You still call me Sister Ding Xiang?" Ding Xiang suppressed the shyness in her heart and generously put her hand into Guazi's hand. "What are our identities now?" "You're my girlfriend. But I can't call you girlfriend, right? And I can't always call you Sister Ding Xiang. It's too loud. How about I call you Xianga?" Guazi muttered. He really touched the pot that didn't boil. When Ding Xiang heard half of it, she wanted to strangle him. "Don't call me Xianga. It's too mushy." Ding Xiang was not that bower. She couldn't stand it. "Then what should I do? What should I call you?" Ding Xiang hesitated and said, "Just call me Ding Xiang. Don't mention the word sister." "I understand. Ding Xiang." "No, sister. You're my girlfriend." Guazi shouted and tried to reach out and put his arm around Ding Xiang's shoulder to let her lean into his embrace. Ding Xiang realized his intention. But after hesitating for a moment, she didn't refuse. If he just put his arm around her shoulder, Ding Xiang might object. She was a very conservative girl from the Miao tribe. "Tell me about your family. I know that you've been worried about them." Ding Xiang said softly. Don't worry." Guazi quivered. He was worried that Ding Xiang would back out again. He quickly said, "I will definitely do their ideological work well. Moreover, I will work very hard to get better results and fight for their recognition." Ding Xiang couldn't hold it in anymore. She straightened up from Guazi's embrace and then angrily stretched out her two hands to pinch Guazi's big face. Of course, she didn't use much strength, but she still said very seriously, "Do you treat our relationship seriously? Do you really think of me as your girlfriend?" If it was someone else, hearing such a question at this time, they would have directly kissed her. But Guazi only had the intention but not the guts. Looking at Ding Xiang's pretty face that was close to him, his mouth was dry, and he didn't dare to move. He argued, "Of course I do. I really like you and want to give you happiness. Happiness is a business that two people work together. It's not something that can be exchanged for by one party's hard work." Ding Xiang changed from pinching to holding. She gently held Guazi's face with both hands. In the night, her eyes were clear and bright. She said, "Since we are going to be together, let's work hard together. Let me help you. Don't struggle alone, okay?" Guazi was so touched that he could only nod his head vigorously. After some time, the lights in the coffee shop were turned on again. The floor is clean." Murphy looked left and right. "They're not upstairs either. Don't tell me they went to get a room? Are all young people so open-minded these days?" Yang Huan complained. Yang Yi had just locked the car and came in. Hearing their conversation, he quickly covered Shi's ears and said angrily, "Yang Huan, what are you talking about? Where did you learn these things? Let me tell you, if you go to a hotel with a guy you just met, I'll beat you to death." "Hey, I'm just saying. There are many situations like this in movies. Westerners are very open-minded. But it doesn't mean that I'm the same," Yang Huan muttered. Although Yang Huan looked a little outgoing, it was undeniable that she was a very traditional girl. Until now, she had not been pursued by anyone. Sister-in-law, let me tell you, do you know what's the most infuriating thing? Yong Huan avoided Yong Yi and pulled Murphy to the door. She muttered, the most infuriating thing is that we don't know where they went to fool around and left us alone. They didn't even inform us of the result and made us wait for so long. It's all that damn Gua's fault. He forgot about his old friends when he got a new one. Achoo! Guazi, who had just said that he would give Ding Xiang a coat, suddenly sneezed. Ding Xiang, who was cuddling with him and enjoying their first time together as a couple, immediately realized what had happened. She immediately went into the rhythm of being Guazi's agent. She quickly pulled the zipper of Guazi's coat and said self-reproachfully, "Look, I forgot that we stayed outside for so long." "It's okay. I've already helped you mop the floor. There's nothing else in the coffee shop." Guazi said with a nasal voice and a little reluctantly, "I'm happy to be with you, no matter where we are." "I'm not talking about that. I'm worried that you'll catch a cold if you stay outside for too long." Ding Xiang said, "Let's go. We should go back." Chapter 867. Guazi and Ding Xiang were together. Of course, this was just the beginning. They would encounter many complicated problems in the future, but they needed to work together to face them. However, for Shi, this big event was just a small episode in her life. Why are Papa, Mom, and little aunt so happy? She couldn't figure out the scene when Uncle Gua and Sister Ding Xiang came back hand in hand. Before going to bed that night, she asked her father about it. "Because Sister Ding Xiang is your Uncle Gua's girlfriend." Yang Yi explained briefly to Shi, "We are very happy to see them together." "Why? Aren't Uncle Gua and Sister Ding Xiang good friends?" "Dad is talking about girlfriends. Girlfriends are closer than good friends. For example, before Dad and Mom got married, Mom was Dad's girlfriend." "I see." This answer still couldn't completely explain Shi's confusion. It was still difficult for a young girl to understand the complicated emotional interactions between adults. However, Shi started to think of another way from the example of her dad and mom. A few days later, the Mid-Autumn Festival arrived. Yang Yi invited Guazi and Ding Xiang, who didn't go home, to his house. Everyone could enjoy the moon and eat mooncakes together. Unexpectedly, Shi ran to Guazi and Ding Xiang and asked innocently, "Uncle Gua, are you going to have a baby with Sister Ding Xiang soon?" Guazi and Ding Xiang were so embarrassed by Yong Huan's barbell-like laughter that they wanted to hide in a hole on the ground. She still didn't understand the world of adults. She was looking forward to the weekend, when her good friends would come to her house to play. After the second class on Friday afternoon, she couldn't wait to remind her deskmate again, "Little you must remember that you are coming to my house to play tomorrow. My papa prepared a lot of delicious food, and Xionaire likes it very much." Shi, you've said it many times." Lu Xiaoyu giggled as she bent over. "My dad said that he would send me there, and he even promised to send me there. Then at night, when he gets off work, he will pick me up and go home." "Why does your papa still have to go to work?" Shi asked in confusion. "My papa said that adults don't have to go to work on weekends. Because my father is a policeman. Sometimes, he has to go to work every day and is very busy. However, he is also very capable and has received many awards." When Lu Xiaoyu talked about her father's occupation, her face was brimming with pride. Although her father was very strict with her, Lu Xiaoyu felt that her father was a superhero who caught bad guys. Just like how she felt that her father was very powerful, Lu Xiaoyu was afraid of her father, but she also admired her father. "Police. I didn't even know that your papa was a policeman." Shi's eyes also became filled with admiration. She said excitedly, "Then your father is also super powerful." However, before Lu Xiaoyu could finish being happy, she complained again, "Little you didn't tell me that your papa was a policeman, and you didn't tell me the story of your papa catching bad guys. You're not a good friend." She had learned the word not a good friend, from the naughty boys in her class. Then again, she had only invited Lu Xiaoyu to this weekend's activity in addition to her old friends. Although she could make more friends after she went to primary school, it was strange that among the friends that the little girl had now, only Lu Xiaoyu was close to. There could be many reasons for this problem, and one of them was the budding awareness of gender. Boys might not have obvious gender awareness, but girls were relatively precocious. Subtly, they liked to play with girls more. This was also related to the fact that boys were becoming more and more naughty, while girls were becoming more and more quiet. Of course, this analysis was only suitable for most situations. Some children were different. For example, Nan Xiaoyu was still the same as before. He was weak, gentle, and quiet. He couldn't blend in with the boys' circle, but the girls' circle didn't accept him very easily either. Fortunately, she and the others would still play with him and introduce their new friends to him. For example, Lu Xiaoyu didn't mind being good friends with Nan Xiaoyu. This way, the little boy wouldn't become more and more isolated. Chen Shiyun, on the other hand, couldn't be quiet. She was always energetic like a tomboy. It was said that all the boys in her class were afraid of her. She had a good relationship with the other girls in her class. For example, Chao Rolin, a girl who loved to study, often asked for advice from Shi when she knew that she had good grades. Shi also answered her questions enthusiastically. In Chao Rolin's opinion, Shi was her best friend in class. However, Shi's best friends in class weren't Chao Rolin, but Lan Xian and Lu Xiaoyu. This might have something to do with the seating arrangement. In Springfield Kindergarten, the children's seats weren't fixed. The teacher would often arrange for the children to sit together. However, in elementary school, there was a fixed seat and a fixed deskmate. This way, there would naturally be more opportunities to interact with her deskmate. She was lucky. Her deskmate was Lu Xiaoyu, who was equally cheerful, talkative, and not calculative. There were few conflicts between the two children. During class, the two girls would chat non-stop, and the friendship between them warmed up. As for the other classmates, although she had a good relationship with them, it was still troublesome to cross seats to play with other classmates. She packed her school bag and said goodbye to Lu Xiaoyu. She excitedly held hands with Lan Xian and went to the library to attend the reading class. Shi, let me tell you, this reading class isn't fun at all. On the way, Lan Xian muttered to Shi, I heard from others that the teacher will ask us to write essays soon. Huh? She turned to look at her companion, puzzled. It's true. I asked my senior classmate. The one next door, I secretly asked her. Lan Xian reached out to cover her mouth and made a gesture to lower her voice. However, her voice was too loud. Even if she lowered her voice, it was no different from a normal person's. It's too troublesome to write essays after reading books. But we still can't write many words. She said in confusion, don't we have to learn how to write before we can write essays? I don't know. She, when you finish writing, can you lend it to me? Lan Xian rolled her eyes and said, I don't know how to do homework. But my papa said that I have to do my own homework. I can't copy other people's homework. She said hesitantly. You can't copy other people's homework, but you didn't copy mine. I copied yours. Lan Xian's wisdom seemed to be used to slack off. At this moment, her mind was very flexible. Well, I don't know. How about I ask my papa first, okay? She still felt that something was wrong, but Lan Xian's eager eyes made she not know how to refuse. Okay then. Anyway, there's no homework yet. Lan Xian waved her hand generously and said indifferently. When Shi and Lan Xian approached the library, a little girl who was slightly taller than Shi and looked quiet appeared in front of the library with a school bag. Chapter 868. Will your dad make those sweet lotus root slices for us? Or maybe it's crispy fried potato chips. The two little girls skipped into the library and chatted with each other. Lan Xian took the initiative to lead the conversation. When they talked about something exciting, she ran 2 steps faster and walked in front of Shi. Then she turned around and talked backwards. I don't know, but Papa said that he would make delicious food. Shi blinked and said. Lon Xian rolled her eyes and raised a finger. She giggled and said, but, you can suggest to your papa that we can make super sweet lotus root slices. Just thinking about those sweet, crunchy, and pink snacks made Lon Xian drool. She even changed her accent to Shi's and said, Papa, in order to make delicious food. She was not fooled. She pouted and said, You can also tell my papa. My papa will definitely make it for you. He likes you so much. Oh, Shi, help me. Lon Xian shook Shi's hand. She stepped back and said coquettishly, I don't even dare to tell your dad. XNR. Shi. Lon Xian rushed to say. But soon, she tripped on her heel and let go of Shi's hand. She screamed and fell back. Shi wanted to help, but it all happened so fast that she could only watch Lon Xian fall and bump into a girl in front of her. The 2 of them rolled on the ground like gourds. I wanted to say that there was a way out. She whispered. Then she reacted and quickly went to help her fallen companion. When she helped Lon Xian and the girl who was knocked down by Lon Xian up, she saw the girl's appearance. It was a little sister with a beautiful bow hairpin in her hair. There was no girl who was taller than she among the children of the same age. The girl in front of her was a little taller than Shi. She should be a few years older than Shi, so it was not wrong to call her a little sister. However, because she was caught off guard and knocked down, this little sister's originally neat clothes and hair became a little messy. She even looked a little disheveled. However, she still maintained a calm expression and didn't shout excitedly. Oh! Hearing her soft cry, the little sister who had already stood up bent down and squatted down again. She held her right knee and frowned. Are you hurt? Cici, who was standing at the side, saw that the other party was frowning and tears were falling down her cheeks. The way she hugged her knees and cried showed how wrong she was. This made the little girl feel a little helpless. Lon Xian had a body full of flesh, so even if she fell, she had a natural protective shield. She patted her butt and acted as if nothing had happened. When she heard Shi's words, she giggled and said, I'm not hurt. Oh, XNR, I'm not asking you. She shouted anxiously. In the end, the 3 girls squatted together at the entrance of the library. Shi and Lon Xian looked anxiously at the little sister who was crying silently and refused to speak. Shi and Lon Xian felt very guilty, but the other party was like a taciturn gourd. She did not respond, so they did not know what to do. The students who passed by all looked at the 3 girls in confusion, treating them as weirdos. However, no one helped them as they passed by. Fortunately, Teacher Lai from the lower grade reading class came late. Yu Xiaowei? Why are you crying here? These 2 students, you're my reading class's students, right? What happened? Teacher Lai asked in surprise. Shi and Lon Xian stood up excitedly as if they were grasping at straws. They told Teacher Lai what happened. A few minutes later, in Teacher Lai's office, Yu Xiaowei, who was sitting on a chair, was wiping her tears. She silently watched Teacher Lai apply medicine to her scraped knees. Of course, she was crying so hard just now that her nose was still twitching. Okay, it's not a big problem. You just scraped your skin. Xiaowei, when you go back, tell your mother to be careful when bathing. You'll get better after a while. Don't worry. Teacher Lai smiled and patted Yu Xiaowei's head lovingly. Yu Xiaowei was closer to Teacher Lai. She nodded lightly, but she did not say anything. She just grabbed her clothes with an uneasy expression. At this moment, Shi, who was standing at the side, noticed the problem. She pointed at Yu Xiaowei's clothes and said, Aya, Xiaowei's clothes are torn too. Maybe it's just a small tear, but it's not a big problem. I'll take you to tell your mother later. She won't blame you. Teacher Lai said gently. Shi's big eyes flashed. She suddenly thought of an idea. The little girl walked up and pulled up her jacket. She pointed at the little flower on the back of her shirt and said, "I know, Teacher Lai. Xiaowei's sister can ask her mom to help her sew it. It'll look good." "Wow, have you torn your clothes before? Who patched it? The design is very ingenious, very impressive," Teacher Lai said with a smile. She shook her little but embarrassedly and said with a smile, "It's my teacher. She patched it up for me. My clothes were torn when I was sweeping the floor. I was like Xiaowei's sister. I wanted to cry." The little girl's enthusiasm for telling stories rose again. Compared to her, Lon Xian was so weak. In front of the teacher, she did not like to speak. She shrunk her little head and became invisible, as if she was afraid that the teacher would blame her for being naughty and bumping into others. Yu Xiaowei listened to Shi's nagging, and her eyes fell on the patch on her clothes. Actually, Yu Xiaowei's clothes also had patches. Her mother's underwear also had patches. After all, their family's financial situation was not good. They couldn't buy new clothes if they were torn. Yu Xiaowei had been growing up, so she often had new clothes to wear. Her mother's and grandmother's clothes would be worn for a few years. Therefore, when she saw the patches on Shi's clothes, Yu Xiaowei felt very close. Teacher Lai knew that Yu Xiaowei's personality was more introverted, so he smiled and led the three little girls over. She let them sit face to face. "All right, actually, the matter is already very clear now. Yang Shi and Lon Xian, the two little students, did not do it on purpose. Lon Xian accidentally bumped into you, but she has already apologized, right?" Yu Xiaowei nodded gently. "Then can you forgive us?" She snatched Teacher Lai's words away. She blinked her big eyes and asked softly, "You are all very obedient children. It's just a small matter. It can be considered that you wouldn't have known each other if you hadn't bumped into each other. In the future, everyone will be good friends, right?" Teacher Lai said with a smile. "I'm not angry." Yu Xiaowei hesitated for a moment and finally opened her mouth. Shi and Lon Xian both revealed happy smiles. Yu Xiaowei had been silent just now, and they were anxious. Chapter 869. Who is Sister Xiaowei? On the way back, Yang Yi heard a name that he had never heard of in the conversation between Shi and Lon Xian, so he couldn't help but ask. "Sister Xiaowei is Sister Xiaowei. Xian knocked her down and hurt her leg. But she can't talk." "Hey, Xian, Sister Xiaowei can talk, she just doesn't like to talk. She didn't talk much to us." From the description of the two girls, Yang Yi could roughly guess what was going on. Shi, you hit her leg. Is it serious? Is it bleeding?" Yang Yi looked at the rearview mirror and asked. "I'm not bleeding. I didn't hit her." "Xian, my papa asked you if you were bleeding." She said. Lon Xian and she both misunderstood Yang Yi's question and said, "I'm not bleeding either. I don't feel pain at all. Sister Xiaowei can't do it. She's not as strong as me." She cried. Yang Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was ready to explain his question, but she responded in the conversation with Lon Xian, That's because Sister Xiaowei was injured. Her leg was bleeding." She raised her thin leg and pointed to her knee. "Well, it should be very painful to bleed. I'm also afraid of pain." Lon Xian sighed and said like a little adult, "No wonder she cried." "Then what happened? Did you take Sister Xiaowei to see a doctor?" "You were wrong about this," Yang Yi asked. Papa, we apologized to Sister Xiaowei." Then she said she wasn't angry. She said, "Later, she also talked to me. Then I knew that she was also in the reading class, but she's already in the 3rd grade. She's amazing." "What's so great about the 3rd years?" "I'm so old, I'll be in the 3rd grade too," Lon Xian said, unconvinced. But Teacher Lai said that Sister Xiaowei's grades are very good. Yang Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After asking for a long time, the two little guys couldn't answer the question. After a while, he finally understood that the girl who was hit by Lon Xin wasn't seriously injured. Shi's teacher, Mr. Lai, had also applied medicine on her wound. Daddy feels a little embarrassed. If it weren't for the teacher explaining for you, Daddy would have personally apologized to her parents. After all, we were in the wrong in this matter. Yang Yi concluded, but it doesn't matter. Teacher Lai is handling it very well, so don't take it to heart. He was worried that Shi and Lon Xin would feel guilty, but the two little girls didn't take it to heart. After he finished reprimanding, the two little girls chattered about their new friend. Sister Xiaowei is actually a very good person. She later told me not to worry because her mother won't scold her. She said. But I don't like her very much, because she doesn't like to talk. I don't know what to say to her. Lon Xin pouted and said, You don't like Sister Xiaowei? She was a little surprised. It's not that I don't like her. I just think she's very boring. Lon Xin was thirsty and picked up the bottle to drink water. But Sister Xiaowei is a very good person. She's like Chi, she doesn't dare to talk much. I think if we become good friends, she will talk to you. Okay then. Lon Xin didn't comment. Yang Yi looked at the rearview mirror and said, Shi, you also need to drink water. Look at you, your mouth is dry. Okay. She drank the water and suddenly remembered the topic she and Lon Xin had discussed before. Her eyes lit up and she quickly drank the water. She couldn't wait to say, Papa, let me tell you, Xin accidentally bumped into Sister Xiaowei because she wanted you to cook for her tomorrow. Lon Xin was a little impatient at first, but when she heard the last topic she brought up, her eyes lit up. Really? What does Xin want to eat? Yang Yi laughed. Teacher Lai didn't break her promise. She didn't go back early, but waited for Yuing to pick up Yu Xiaowei and explain to her why Yu Xiaowei's knee was injured and her clothes were torn. After hearing Teacher Lai's explanation, Yuing also checked her daughter's knee. She was relieved. It's okay, it's normal to have bumps. Teacher Lai, thank you for waiting for me for so long. Yuing said some polite words, then took her daughter's hand and took the bus home. Along the way, Yu Xiaowei didn't say anything and stood obediently by her mother's legs. Yuing knew her daughter's character, so she touched her daughter's hair and said that she would talk to her when they got home. However, Yu Xiaowei was a little special today. Before Yuing said anything, she had an eager look on her face when they got home. She pointed at the torn part of her clothes and whispered to her mother, Mom, here, can you help me fix a little flower? Little flower? Yuing was a little surprised. Of course, when she saw her daughter talking, Yuing knew that she was in a good mood. Yes. Little flower. Yu Xiaowei lowered her head and gestured with her fingers on the clothes. Shi's clothes are like this, it's very nice. Yuing smiled and asked Yu Xiaowei to sit down. She looked at her clothes and said carefully, Who's Shi? Is she the classmate who bumped into you? No, she helped me up, Yu Xiaowei said concisely. However, Yu Xiaowei hesitated and added, They didn't do it on purpose. Mom, don't be angry, okay? They've already apologized. Okay, Mom understands. It's fine as long as you're all fine. Yuing hugged her daughter and her voice became cheerful. She smiled and said, Come on, take off your clothes and go take a shower. Mom will study it tonight and see how to fix your clothes to make them look better. She tried to create a relaxed and happy atmosphere in the house. Some time ago, she handed her manuscript to Sahara Publishing. Whether it was her editor, Wen Xiefeng, or the other chief and deputy chief editors, they all gave her high praise. Now that the manuscript was in the process of being published, although Yuing was still a little uncertain and didn't dare to resign before she had an income, she was already listed as an official author under Sahara Publishing. Naturally, she also enjoyed some of the benefits. Wan Xiefeng knew about her family situation and applied to the publishing house to allow Yuing to use the publishing house's medical resources, such as consulting the publishing house's contracted psychiatrist. Because Yu Xiaowei only had a serious introverted personality and didn't have the more troublesome autism, the psychiatrist gave Yu Ying a lot of psychological counseling advice. One of them was to improve the atmosphere of her life and maintain a positive attitude. Under the influence of her mother's smile, Yu Xiaowei's mood was a little happy and she couldn't help but smile. Chapter 870. Little Lazy Bum, Wake Up. Didn't you say that you were going to your deskmate's house today? You have to wake up early because your dad still has to go to work. Early on Saturday morning, Lu Xiaoyu was woken up by her mother. Of course, after washing up, Lu Xiaoyu had regained her energy. Thinking about going to Shi's house to play, she was so happy that she couldn't even sit still during breakfast. Xiaoyu, show me the address, Lu Kong said casually to Lu Xiaoyu as he put on his police uniform and buttoned it up in front of the mirror. Why didn't you prepare earlier? What if you don't know the way? Lu Xiaoyu's mother nagged as she walked past. Hee, I'm not bragging, but there's really no place in Jiangqing that I don't know. After all these years of being on duty, I've been to almost every street. Lu Kong boasted. Lu Xiaoyu took out a notebook from her small bag and found the address slip that she had given her. Of course, it was written by Yang Yi. He had even left his phone number so that they could contact each other when they arrived at the entrance of the villa area. Lu Kong took it and read as he read, Tingshan District. Your classmate lives in Tingshan District? That's a bit far. She actually came all the way to Wuhu District to study. But soon, he frowned in confusion. New North Road. Hangi Grand Mansion. This place sounds familiar. Wait, this seems to be a villa area. Hangi Grand Mansion? Isn't it the villa area in the mountains? Lu Xiaoyu's mother was helping Lu Xiaoyu tie her hair. When she heard that, she looked over in surprise. Not long after, Lu Kong drove his on-duty police car and sent Lu Xiaoyu to the outskirts of the villa area. Everything in front of him confirmed his previous guess. Although it was wrong to use a police car for private purposes, there were no clear rules in this world that forbade private use of a police car. Just like in Yang Yi's previous life, when the management wasn't strict enough, Lu Kong drove a police car to pick up children. It couldn't be considered a violation of the rules. In fact, it was just following the trend. Little Yu, does your deskmate really live here? What does your family do? Lu Kong looked at the heavily guarded villa area and clicked his tongue. Just the gate and the tower where the security guards were stationed looked like a fortress that was easy to defend and hard to attack. I don't know, but she said that Xin Air also lives here. Lu Xiaoyu looked out of the car window curiously. Lu Kang's car was parked on the side of the road. He took out his phone and was about to dial the number on the note when two security guards walked over. They gently knocked on the window of the driver's seat and asked Lu Kong what was going on. If it was an ordinary car parked outside the villa area, they wouldn't do anything. At most, they would make a record. After all, their task was to manage the safety of the villa area. However, since Lu Kong was driving a police car, the security guard captain had to bring someone over to check if anything had happened. On the one hand, it was to avoid conflict with the police. On the other hand, if there was an emergency, they could also take countermeasures. It's not official business. We are friends of one of your residents. We were invited here to have fun. I'm calling him now, Lu Kong explained. He knew that the people who lived here were either rich or powerful. As a small policeman, he didn't have the capital to have a conflict with them. Fortunately, everything went smoothly. Lu Kang's call was quickly connected, and it was a strange man's voice. After a while, the security guard captain who came to investigate also received a series of instructions in his headset. His attitude suddenly changed from strict to respectful. After you drive in, go straight and turn right at the third intersection. He also described the driving route to Lu Kong in detail. I don't know if you understand? If you still don't know how to get there, we can show you the way. Oh no, I understand. Lu Kong quickly waved his hand. After all, The security guard just asked a simple routine question and didn't show a very arrogant attitude. However, there was a difference in his attitude before and after. Lu Kang couldn't help but feel a little emotional. He also had to face such a situation. He used to have a different attitude to others. She. He sighed as he drove. His daughter in the back seat shouted excitedly. At this time, Lu Kang saw a tall man holding a little girl's hand in front of the courtyard of a villa to welcome them. Out of curiosity, he looked at the man a few more times as he stopped the car. She. As soon as the car stopped, Lu Xiaoyu couldn't wait to jump out. She happily hugged She. Hey you, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. She jumped up and down with her friends. Hello, Uncle Yang. Lu Xiaoyu had a good upbringing. She didn't forget to greet Yang Yi. Yang Yi always went to pick up Shi early, so Lu Xiaoyu had seen Yang Yi at school. Hello you, is this your father? Yang Yi smiled gently and took the initiative to greet her. Hello, I'm Shi's father. Before Yang Yi could introduce himself, Lu Kang had already recognized him. Lu Kang said excitedly, I know, you're Yang Yi. Yang Yi wasn't surprised by Lu Kang's reaction. He nodded slightly and smiled. Yes. I didn't expect it to be you. I'm from the Zhongqing Public Security Bureau's Traffic Police Brigade. My name is Lu Kang. Last time, when the Extreme Challenge was recording the show in Binhai District, we arranged for people to help maintain traffic order. I just happened to see you. Lu Kang couldn't help but reveal his relationship with Yang Yi. Lu Xiaoyu and She looked at them curiously. Lu Xiaoyu was still a little confused. She didn't know why her father was so excited. Thank you for your support of our work. Yang Yi smiled and shook hands with Lu Kang. But today, I'm Shi's father, so please don't be offended. After Lu Kang heard Yang Yi's words, the pressure in his heart suddenly disappeared. His brain finally started working again. That's right, this isn't just a celebrity. He's also the father of his daughter's deskmate. Sorry, I got a little excited just now. Lu Kang calmed down a little and smiled. I'll have to trouble you to take care of you, today. I have to go to work later. I understand. Police work is very hard. It's not troublesome for me. I'm very happy that you, can come over to play with Shi. She's usually quite bored at home on weekends. You don't have to worry about you, She won't go hungry in our house. Yang Yi joked and closed the distance between them. I know. Lu Kang relaxed and smiled. Among celebrities, you're famous for your cooking skills. You're Shi's chef. You, is in for a treat today. Lu Xiaoyu, who was standing at the side, finally heard the clues. She whispered to Shi, it seems like my father knows your father. I'll tell you secretly. Don't tell anyone. Shi also moved closer to Lu Xiaoyu's ear and whispered, my papa and mom are both celebrities, so a lot of people know about them. Okay. Lu Xiaoyu didn't have much of an idea about celebrities. Not long after Lu Kang sent Lu Xiaoyu home, he also left. He came out early today, but he still had to go to work. Chapter 871. Lu Xiaoyu arrived early because Lu Kang had to go to work. The other children were probably still dawdling at home. However, it didn't matter. Shi and Lu Xiaoyu could also have fun. At first, Lu Xiaoyu was a little shy. This is little Fishy, right? Mo Fei greeted her with a smile. The little girl was stunned. Her eyes were fixed on Murphy's face as if she was surprised. This super beautiful auntie was Shi's mother? Murphy couldn't help but shake her head and smile when she saw the little girl staring at her in a daze. She took out a handful of biscuits and candy from the table next to her and stuffed them into Lu Xiaoyu's hands. She said softly, Little Fishy, don't be nervous. Treat this as your own home and have fun. She pulled her shy desk-mate aside and couldn't wait to introduce him to her. Little fishy, look, this is my little brother. I told you about him before. Also, his name is Tong Tong. Lu Xiaoyu finally moved her gaze and looked at Tong Tong, who was sitting on the ground and looking at her curiously. Perhaps it was because of her age, Lu Xiaoyu was not as nervous when she looked at Tong Tong. She turned her head and looked at Tong Tong while whispering to Shi. Hee, if it's a little brother, of course it's a boy. She said cheerfully. The two little girls didn't know what they were talking about, but in a short while they surrounded little Pai and chatted animatedly. Big sister. Tong Tong finally got impatient. He crawled over to her and said, Big sister. The little guy showed very high athletic ability. He quickly crawled in front of Shi and climbed up by himself using the fortress pillow. Wow, Shi, your little brother is amazing. Lu Xiaoyu exclaimed. Shi patted Tong Tong's head and said with a smile, He's even better. Let me show you. She grabbed a big pillow from the sofa and put Tong Tong into the fortress. Tong Tong immediately understood and jumped on the pillow. The next scene was even more exciting. Puppy, who was lying on top of the big pillow, stuck out his butt again and struggled to get up. He stepped on the pillow weakly. Although he was swaying and was in danger of falling down at any time, the little guy still grabbed the edge of the fortress and steadied himself. With a certain height support, the small swanee was able to lift one of its legs and climb up the fortress, hanging its whole body on the top. Hee, look, isn't he very powerful? Cici jumped left and right at the side, giggling. That's right. Lu Xiaoyu watched Little Rascal's performance with great interest and couldn't help but nod her head. However, at this moment, a yellow figure suddenly jumped out and scared Lu Xiaoyu. Ah! Lu Xiaoyu hid behind Shi in a panic. However, at this moment, she saw that it was a big yellow dog. Its target wasn't her or Shi. It stood up high and pressed its two front paws on Tong Tong, who was still riding on the fortress. It whimpered, but no one knew what it was saying. Anyway, it sounded anxious. Xiaoyu, don't be afraid. This is steamed bun. Steamed bun is super nice. She enthusiastically introduced steamed bun to Lu Xiaoyu. Steamed bun was very smart. He knew that his master built this fortress to protect the little one. Therefore, when he saw Tong Tong trying to escape, he anxiously ran over to stop him. While he was trying to stop Tong Tong, he heard his little master talking to the customer about him. He couldn't help but turn his head, wagged his tail, and stuck his tongue out at the customer. However, Tong Tong giggled and wanted to flip out again. Steamed bun could only whimper softly, turn his head, and push him back in. Sigh, dogs are busy too. Tong Tong was pushed back and fell on the pillow. However, he wasn't discouraged and flipped over again. At this time, Murphy walked over and asked Shi and Lu Xiaoyu to drink the strawberry yogurt that Yang Yi had made for them. At the same time, she took out the pillow that Shi had put in. Tong Tong's escape plan was foiled once again. Fortunately, Murphy also carried him out and took him to play outside. I thought big dogs were very fierce, but your steamed bun is very cute. Lu Xiaoyu gulped down half of the large cup of yogurt. The sweet and sour taste was very good. She licked the white fur on her lips as she spoke to Shi. After steamed bun saw that Tong Tong was safe, he began to circle around the customer. He wagged his tail and sniffed Lu Xiaoyu's heels. Lu Xiaoyu reached out to touch him, and he even licked her back. This made Lu Xiaoyu happy and scared at the same time. Of course, this was also steamed bun trying to familiarize himself with the customer's habits. After a while, Lu Xiaoyu also began to like this guy who didn't have a cute face, but had a cute heart. Yes, steamed bun is very fun. She liked to drink all the yogurt in one breath before burping in response to her little friend. She thought of something and jumped down from the stool. She ran to the kitchen and came back with 2 clean spoons. She handed one to Lu Xiaoyu and held the other for herself. She demonstrated to Lu Xiaoyu, also, dig out the strawberries and eat them. Strawberries are super delicious. Of course, they were delicious. Yang Yi had just gone to the market to buy fresh strawberries this morning. Every one of them was plump and red, and naturally tasted delicious. However, it was the first time that Lu Xiaoyu used a spoon to dig out the fruit in the cup. She was a little clumsy and seemed to have used too much strength. The spoonful of milk and strawberry pulp spilled onto her clothes. "Aya!" Lu Xiaoyu exclaimed. She turned her head and looked over. The warm-hearted little girl immediately jumped up from the chair, but she didn't know what to do. She could only raise her voice and shout, "Mom! Papa!" "What's wrong?" Murphy, who had just walked out with Tong Tong, came back. Little Fishy dirted her clothes. She pointed at Lu Xiaoyu and shouted. Murphy handed Tong Tong to Yang Yi, who had rushed over after hearing the news. She pulled out a tissue and gently smiled at Lu Xiaoyu, who was panicking. "It's okay. Auntie will help you wipe it." Fortunately, Lu Xiaoyu had dirted her coat. Murphy decided to help Lu Xiaoyu wash the sweet-smelling yogurt stain. She also brought Shi's coat and let Lu Xiaoyu put it on first. "Don't worry. Auntie will put it in the washing machine and dry it outside. Today's weather is very good. It'll be dry by the afternoon." Murphy comforted Lu Xiaoyu. In fact, Lu Xiaoyu was only worried that she would be blamed by her father for dirtying her clothes. After the problem was solved, she recovered her happy smile. "You're wearing my clothes, so we can be considered sisters." Cici pointed at the coat on Lu Xiaoyu's body and started to play with her, beaming with joy. At this time, there were no adults in the living room. Murphy had gone to wash Lu Xiaoyu's clothes. Yang Yi was busy in the kitchen making baked biscuits. Only Shi, Lu Xiaoyu, and Tong Tong, who was playing with toys in the fortress, were left in the living room. Shi looked at her brother and rolled her eyes. She pulled Lu Xiaoyu's hand and whispered, "Little Fishy, let me show you something." You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.